In this game, he had everything, except luck. Until one day, he gambled all his stored fortune on a single weapon. All or nothing. Now with brains, skill, and a gun that defies the odds, he no longer needs luck to win. But when fortune still decides to smile, his enemies don't stand a chance. One shot, one miracle, and the rest is just cleanup. Can the rarest chance make him unstoppable? Let's find out. This story begins in the dungeon, Northern Red Ocean, for level 550 and above. Amano Kyohei, the protagonist, was currently fighting a three-headed divine dragon of level 552. It was a boss monster. He hit it several times, causing it to howl in pain when he wanted to strike back, but only broke a rock nearby. MC at this time was already in a completely different place. He jumped back and said that not only is he disgustingly ugly, but he is also too stubborn. Here, in this game, Kyohei's name is Ted. He is a level 559th musketeer. Taking aim, he fired at the enemy with a musket. He covered his heads with his hands in time, but this still did not protect him from the pain. He immediately roared loudly, and MC thought that, as befits a three-headed monster, the sea dragon has three huge heads. At first glance, it is built like a Cerberus. But once you cut off one head, the monster's behavior becomes more complicated. In addition, it becomes stronger and more powerful, which significantly increases the difficulty level. He ate a few bullet pills, which add an unknown percentage to critical hit chance and penetration, and thought he had already cut off one of its heads, but it was too dangerous to continue acting alone. He needed to find another way. When he noticed that streams of water appeared around his opponent's hand, he was very surprised, and then the sea dragon aimed at him and a sharp, swirling stream of water flew straight at him. Fortunately, he managed to react in time and jump to the side. The monster was already laughing, thinking that he had won, but when he saw that there was no body at the place of the blow, he immediately fell silent. Kyohei's voice was heard behind him, saying that it seemed that everything went smoothly. The monster immediately turned to him, and he, standing on its defeated head, put the gun barrel to the other and said that he was only stalling for time, since he wanted to cut off all three heads at once. He grinned and said goodbye to the monster, after which he fired, dealing with both heads at once. He jumped off the monster's body and a system notification appeared in front of him with congratulations. He is the first person in this world who managed to defeat a monster of level 550 higher than him. He received the Lone Hunter achievement, his level increased to 600, and he, sitting next to the body of the sea dragon, decided to take a break. He laughed and thought that they say it rightly, that patience and hard work are very important. However, this is the only outcome, considering how much time and money was spent to defeat him. He even prepared a trap of the highest level, designed specifically for hunting the boss. The taste of deadly poison that you can't find even on the trading floors. And that's not to mention a ton of debuff items, magic buff scrolls, and power-up potions. If you count them all, he spent about 2 million, overdone it a bit. But if he sells everything here, he'll even come out on top. And most importantly, he got what he started all this for. He got the Sea Dragon Essence, a dark blue crystal that shimmers like it's filled with water and can extinguish any amount of heat. Its drop rate is pretty low, so he's really glad he got it on the first try. He's really lucky today, but for some reason he has a bad feeling about this. When was the last time he was this lucky in a game? A virtual reality RPG that took the world by storm immediately after its release and is still the top in its genre, Fateful Chronicles. He developed quickly thanks to his unique playstyle and understanding of the mechanics. It's been 3 years since the game's release, and he's become one of the top 100 talented players in Japan. He only had one major problem. He was incredibly unlucky. The lands he worked so hard to develop were destroyed by an earthquake event. All of his carefully selected guildmates suddenly got into an accident right before the siege began. After a series of failures, he cut all ties and decided to continue his ascent as a solo player. If he had such luck in reality, he would have already passed away. What the hell is going on? Why is he so unlucky in games? Is he cursed by chance? But today, he will put an end to this bad luck. The information he received this time was really valuable. He went to the Hellfire Mountain dungeon for level 600 and above. Inferno Orochi is located there. It is the boss of the dungeon, and once a year it sheds. During the molting period, he is weak and defenseless as he hibernates, but at the same time, he is covered with an indestructible protective shell like a stone. In short, the molting period is considered to be an indestructible resting phase. But he got information, a way to remove his impenetrable shell and wake up the weakened carcass. He climbed to the top of the cliff and looked around, thinking that this is such a strange place. Then he took out the essence of the sea dragon and looked at it with a smile, saying that he is counting on it. He poured the essence into a huge hole, and when it touched the monster's body, he immediately opened his eyes. Soon the ground began to shake. MC drank some potions and saw smoke coming from the hole. He realized that he was very close. After that, there was a roar. Inferno Orochi appeared in front of him to fight, and his level was 650. He immediately aimed his musket and fired a few shots, after which he thought with a smile that everything was as he expected. Because of the molt status, it can deal damage to him despite the difference in levels. The monster looked at him, then rushed towards him at full speed and slammed his head on the ground. Kyohei jumped to the side and nervously thought, is it possible that his strength and speed remained the same? He took away half of his health, barely touching him. Noticing that the monster was gathering energy in its mouth, he was scared. And then, it shot a fireball at him. Quickly turning over in the air, he shot back, after which a stream of fire flew forward, leaving a depression on the ground. Luckily, MC survived, although half of his cloak was burnt. He thought it was close. If he hadn't dodged it using the recoil from the shot, he would have been fried on the spot. Is the level difference really that big, even though he's weakened? He won't be able to withstand it if he hits him again. He looked at the huge, scorched trail and thought that he would even die on the spot. Considering the level difference, the chances of winning are 30%, at best. He still decided to continue the fight and told the monster to come to him, after which the fight continued. Several fiery trails had already appeared on the ground. Kyohei lay down and caught his breath, thinking that this was his limit. His body was simply not capable of more. He looked at the monster lying next to him. He fought with him for 2 days without sleep or rest, and eventually won against Inferno Orochi for the first time on the server. After that, he logged out of the game and woke up in a capsule. He stood up and stretched his shoulders, thinking that being in the capsule for 2 days was taking a toll on his body. Now that he had put the loot from the monster on the marketplace, he could sleep. He realized that he had almost forgotten about something, after which he sat down at the computer and uploaded 2 videos of himself fighting monsters. He thought that the number of views, as always, would be small, but at least the future him would admire it. He left the room, hoping that he would like everything. But at that moment, no one could even imagine what these 2 videos he had uploaded would turn out to be, and what these events would turn out to be specifically for him. The number of views began to grow rapidly. Eventually the video went viral, and everyone began to discuss it. Some guys were sitting in a computer club, and one of them showed him that very video, but he did not believe that it was so viral, since he always exaggerates. But when he saw the content of it, he was very surprised and exclaimed, he defeated the level 650 boss alone? This is not computer graphics, is it? His friend called him an idiot and told him to think about it. It's a 40-hour video. If they made a cut, it would be really good. They paid attention to the author of the video, and the guy asked, his name is Ted, where is he from? And his friend asked, is this the first time he hears about him? He entered this nickname on the internet. It turns out he's a top 100 ranker. The guy said that you can't create multiple accounts in this game. So it's true? But these musketeers do not have the appropriate skills at all to kill bosses solo. Does he have any other videos? As soon as MC gained his popularity, he started hosting live broadcasts. Today's broadcast was dedicated to a hunting guide. He walked to the edge of the cliff and, looking at the monsters below, told his viewers that today they will kill the Ogre King. Usually they walk alone, but sometimes they gather in groups like now, and also smaller mobs stick to them, forming a whole army, so killing them all is quite difficult. So before he provokes them all, he needs to kill at least 1 Ogre King. He took out his gun and aimed, then activated his killing skill and shot straight at the monster's head. Everyone else immediately turned their attention to him, and he told his viewers that in order to avoid a counterattack while the skill was recharging, they needed to deal with the little ones. He jumped down and started killing the kobolds, while saying that usually the Ogre Kings were just slowly shot at one by one. But when they were all together, they were even easier to defeat. First, you needed to get close to the Ogre King, and while you were dodging his attacks, you needed to provoke another king to attack you. He shot at another monster, and then aimed at the first one, and said that next you needed to immobilize the first ogre that was already attacking. And if you could dodge the blow so that it hit your own kind, the fight would be over quickly. He struck with the help of another monster, after which he increased the distance and said that ogres do not know brotherly feelings, so they attack anyone who causes them significant damage. And while they were having fun, you need to thin out the ranks of the kobolds, and only 1 Ogre King will remain. He started shooting the little monsters with a smile and announced the end of the guide. His viewers said that he hadn't won yet, and others thanked him for the advice. Meanwhile, a woman named Rudisa was watching his broadcasts. She called her colleague Thomas and asked if he hadn't invited him to appear on the show yet. He told her that he had poor speech skills, so a talk show would definitely not work. She agreed with him. His comments were simple, inexperienced, and clumsy, but he had charisma and skills that compensated for his inexperience. She wanted to get him on their show at any cost. Thomas agreed to invite him and got down to business. Time passed, Kyohei ended the broadcast and sighed heavily, thinking that he never imagined that it would come to personal streams. He thought he was going crazy when he saw how that video spread. The number of subscribers immediately increased 300 times in just one day. Finally, he can say goodbye to his failure. If he succeeds and becomes a top player, then the sweet life awaits him. Someone called him, and he thought irritably, isn't this the same manager who offered him to come on a TV show last time? He told him that he is not ready for a TV show, so it is impossible, but he is so persistent. He answered the call and asked who was calling him. It turns out that CGTV called him with an offer to work, and all because of his recent video. They were impressed by his clean work in eliminating Orochi, and were about to send a group to escort him, but he did not let the person finish, and said that he would contact them later. He ended the call and thought CGTV is one of the 7 most powerful and richest guilds. And they really want to hire him? This is just ridiculous. There are 7 guilds that are recognized by the game administration and do business in the territory of the Fateful Chronicles. These are the 7 richest guilds. Among them, CGTV and Alibaba are dominant in China. There is no way these idiots would have tried to persuade him to join them. After that, he went to the market to reveal the cores of the bosses he recently defeated. The NPC said that if you disassemble them, you won't be able to restore them later. And he said that he knows. Can he just silently do his job? After that, the man started working on the cores, and he thought that it was a pity, of course, to lose items that are worth millions, but it was very strange that this guild contacted him right after he defeated those bosses, considering that they specifically mentioned Orochi, and that can only mean one thing. The NPC finished. The cores reflected the names of 2 guilds, CGTV and Alibaba. He was indignant and thought, they got the bosses and marked them. Seriously? Is this legal in terms of the system? He doesn't know why, but they obviously used some kind of trick to mark the boss monsters. And he also killed them, recorded it on video and posted it online. He clenched his fist and cursed loudly, thinking, does that mean both bosses he barely defeated were connected to big guilds? Is this all his bad luck? Shouldn't this bad luck have ended by now? This is bad. The big shots will find a way to track him down one way or another. So what should he do now? He went to his mailbox, filled with messages from Rudy Satvi, and finally decided to write a reply. He didn't notice how a group of players approached him from behind, and then one of them fired an arrow at him. Hearing the whistle, he immediately turned around. Fortunately, the arrow flew past, only wounding his face. One of the players said that he has pretty good detection skills. Why did he mess with their things? He gritted his teeth and thought, are they already here? But they came too fast. What's worse is that they are fully armed and of high class. They all came prepared. The player asked, he knows what he did right? Because of him, they suffered huge losses. The MC asked back, does he think he did it on purpose? They could have put up a sign or a pointer, for example, but the players didn't want to listen to him, and one of them used the skill Hellghoul Hand, which caused many hands to come out from under the ground. They grabbed Kyohei and pinned him to the ground, not allowing him to move, and a player came forward and said that it was not a question, but a statement. The MC looked at him and thought, is that the Dawn Mage, Manhwa? The world-famous ranker from Alibaba is here. Manhwa said that it doesn't matter whether he did it on purpose or not. Kyohei didn't let him finish speaking, showing him his letter. He exclaimed, did he see that? He himself said that his detection skills are good, right? He was right. He found out something here. He knows about Rudisatv, the #1 game streaming service, right? Let him just imagine the commotion it would cause if 2 famous guilds that are quite rich suddenly used illegal methods. Manhwa gritted his teeth in anger, and the MC smirked and threatened them that if they laid a finger on him, he would immediately send this letter. So what will they do now? The next day came, and so did his stream. His viewers were surprised that he started the stream so suddenly, and he greeted them, smiling and telling them the sad news. Unfortunately, this stream will be his last. It's for personal reasons, so let them not ask questions. He decided that Ted would disappear from the world, and remembered that player's threats. He used his skills on him out of rage, and the system informed him that the Death Shadow curse was covering his body. The Hellish Gaze was imprinted on his body, and the Doom Messenger curse was taking over. He became very worried, and Manhwa said that everyone would die sooner or later. He gave him a week, during which time he should get rid of his characters and all the letters. If he decided to resist, he would die endlessly, like everyone around him. He would take care of that. He exclaimed in response, does he think he will just give in and listen to him? If he reveals their illegal activities, then everything will be over for them. Manhwa said that even if he reveals it, everyone will forget about it after a year. But nothing will stop him from haunting him for eternity. The choice is his. Either he disappears, or he and his loved ones are erased by them. He hopes they will never meet again, because that is how it should be. After that he left, but MC was not going to give up. He tried various methods, but the curses did not fall off him. It had been 10 years since he started playing Fate Chronicles with his family. He can't just delete the characters he had leveled up for so long using the same scheme. He opened the system window, intending to delete the character, and thought that fortunately, he was also restrained by convention. As long as he followed the rules, it would not touch his family. He just needed him to delete the main character, right? There was nothing he could do. That was his luck. But he could also create another account. He would just delete this one and start over. He was already an experienced player, so starting from scratch would be easy for him. But the thought made him so sad that he burst into tears, and he thought, is he really going to have to throw away all the fruits of his efforts that he had put in for 10 years? Is this all he can do? Why is it always him? He never has any luck. Black and White is a unique musket rifle, of which there are no more than 1,000 in this world, and they can only be obtained in 2 places. He spent 3 whole years to get this item from an SS-class quest, which consisted of defeating 100,000 undead. It was a real test for someone with such a bad luck. Such a rifle costs 100 million at the auction, but he wanted a new one too much. As long as he has this, he cannot erase his character. He needs to at least give this rifle a decent send-off. After all, this is the fruit of his labor. He must personally finish the job. So, on his farewell stream, he decided to show his viewers the Soul Seal. They became nervous, realizing what he was going to do. The Soul Seal is a powerful equipment upgrade that increases all of its stats by 20%. The chance of successfully upgrading rare equipment is usually only 10%, and in case of failure, the probability of the item being destroyed is 100%. He wanted to try his luck for the first time in a long time. This is the best musket created by the Master Edison. The description says that this is the 9th gun, forged from the shards of the gates of heaven melted by the fires of hell. His spectators said that since he decided to leave, let him raffle off his equipment among them. They did not believe in his success at all, but for him, it does not mean anything at the moment. He will still have to erase the character. He does it to make it easier for him to abandon it. He came to the forge and told the audience that since he has not done anything for them so far, let them at least teach them one last lesson. It is better not to take risks. Now he can retire in peace. He decided to begin, and the blacksmith named Brahman hit the musket with a hammer, and he closed his eyes with tears in his eyes, already saying goodbye to it. Quite unexpectedly for him, the blacksmith let out a surprised sigh and informed him that the enchantment was successful. Not believing his luck, Kyohei took the musket and thought in shock. Did he really do it? All the stats of his gun increased, and a new skill was added. Cloud Reload. The viewers were very surprised, and one of them wrote that this was a direct hint not to end the streams. MC got very nervous and handed his musket to the blacksmith, asking him to use the Soul Seal again. The viewers were surprised, some even started swearing, for which they were blocked in the chat. Kyohei bit his lower lip from excitement and decided to abandon pointless hopes, let it break quickly, so that he could erase the character without regrets. But a victorious sound was heard. He opened his eyes in irritation and thought, "Is this all serious? Where did his failure go?" He asked the blacksmith to do it again, after which he exclaimed that this simply could not be. 3 successful enchantments in a row? The audience was shocked along with him, and the blacksmith noted with a smile that he was quite lucky. He thought, is luck really a thing? Even if it is, he had had enough of it. He just planned to quietly disappear. He wanted to try again, but this time, luck smiled on him too. With tears in his eyes, handing the musket back to the blacksmith, he hoped that this time it would break, but everything turned out quite the opposite, and he thought, what good is luck now? After several disappointments, he decided to stop, and the blacksmith said that he had never seen such a lucky guy. Thanks to him, he saw so many new things. In his entire life as a blacksmith, he finally created a great masterpiece. MC looked at his musket in shock with 7 enchantments already. It is a unique class item. The current value of it is now in the billions. 7 enchantments, all of its base stats have increased by 30% because of it. It's 3.5 times more powerful than the original musket, but even that's not enough. He can't escape CGTV and Alibaba. He can't even win against Manhwa. Creating a weapon with 7 enchantments doesn't change anything at all. He can only sell it, but what's the point if he's going to erase the character anyway? He spent 10 years leveling himself up, sweating in the game since he was 20, and now because of some idiot, he's forced to start all over again? This feeling of emptiness can't be filled with money or anything else. What if he gets an enchantment that can change the situation? He finished the stream and thought that it was okay if he failed, but no one should know about his success, so he got rid of prying eyes. After that, he went to the blacksmith and gave him his gun. As a result, he reached 9 enchantments, and that's simply unthinkable. Once the Soul Seal has been successfully applied 8 times, this gun can no longer be transferred to other hands. The higher-ups step in and buy out the ownership rights. The biggest guilds will fight for the right to own it, because now they can build a strategy around this weapon. There are only 8 similar items with 9 enchantments in the world, and they are worth hundreds of billions of yen. He became very worried and thought that an item enchanted 10 times simply does not exist. He knows of 4 attempts, but they all ended in failure. The system reported that his heart rate has reached 200, so he is strongly advised to pause the game and return to it later. If his heart rate reaches 250, he will be forcibly disconnected from the server for security purposes. He tried to calm down and told himself to make a decision with a clear head, as he always does. His character Ted, his youth, and his whole life, he doesn't want to lose all of it even in exchange for luck. He needs an enchantment of this level to resist Alibaba and CGTV. For each enchantment, the damage increases by 1.2 times. Even 9 times is not enough. He needs at least 32 times more damage. He opened his inventory and took out a potion from there with the thought that his character is more valuable than gold. He will put everything he has into it. The system reported that he consumed a berserker potion. Now for 10 minutes, his neural impulses will be strengthened by 30% and damaged by 20%. The item has negative effects. The character's physical control will be weakened by 80%. Debuffs will be imposed. Rage, physical, and mental vulnerability. He threw the empty bottle aside and assured himself that he can do it. Even 18 is not enough. He needs all 19. He approached Brahman and energetically handed him his gun, and he asked, "Is he serious?" His head is already spinning. Kyohei was furious and ordered him not to make him repeat himself. He grabbed him by the beard and told him to shut his mouth and do as he was told. The blacksmith liked his fierce nature and got to work, after which he hit the musket with a hammer with all his might. The 10th enchantment was a success and clouds thickened in the sky, from which a demon emerged. He extended his hand to MC and said that they finally met. They found each other. After the 10th enchantment, which is incredibly rare in itself, the player becomes a legend, and you can also make a contract with a special game entity. The mid-rank demon, Brookshan, offered him a blood contract and said that such an opportunity only comes once in a lifetime. But Kyohei waved his hand away and told him not to touch him when he was busy enchanting. The demon was taken aback by such words and began to be indignant, but MC no longer listened to him and told the blacksmith to enchant his gun again. Of course, the demon got angry at this ignorant man and left. And when the enchantment was successful again, another demon appeared and started saying his signature phrase. But Kyohei didn't listen to him at all and only continued enchanting gun. So he ignored several higher beings at once: the Lord of Beasts, the King of Beasts Ligel, the highest ranked demon, the King of Fire Elementals, Ifrit, and the Guardian of the World Tree, Sagaya. The level of the beings coming to him increased with each enchantment, but he didn't care. The 18th enchantment was successful. He had one last time left, and he excitedly ordered the blacksmith to act, after which he enthusiastically picked up the hammer and exclaimed that this was the last enchantment. But as soon as his hammer touched the musket, it shattered into many small pieces, and MC went into shock, and the effect of his berserk potion wore off. As soon as he realized what happened, his face darkened and he wondered what he did. But that's what he wanted. He wanted to break it from the very beginning. What kind of nonsense is he talking about? His 18 charms just disappeared. He rushed to the blacksmith, grabbed him by the clothes, and with tears in his eyes, asked him to give him back his musket. Brahman lit up for some reason. He thanked him. With his help, he was able to expand his boundaries as a creator. He reached the heights of blacksmithing, and this is thanks to him, the favorite of fortune. Kyohei attacked him with his fists and exclaimed, "What kind of nonsense is he talking about? Let him not dare to rejoice at this. His gun is broken." But when he saw what Brahman had become, he was very surprised. Now before him was the god of blacksmiths, the forger of myths. He asked in confusion what was going on here, and Brahman, taking the shards of gun, said that thanks to his awakening, he received new abilities. One of them is to repair equipment fragments with his bare hands. After repairing, an additional enchantment will be available. MC looked at him in shock and thought, is he able to repair equipment broken by a failed attempt at enchantment? Brahman said that even though he is a master, he cannot use this power whenever he wants. After all, repairing something that was completely destroyed goes against the laws of nature and leads them to a place only God knows. Perhaps he can only perform such a miracle once or twice in his life. He gathered his strength, repaired his musket, and put the 19th enchantment on it. He handed the gun to its owner and asked him to accept his deepest gratitude for the opportunity to create this. Trembling with excitement, Kyohei opened the status window and, seeing the new, increased characteristics of his musket, thought, is he not sleeping? Is this a real indicator of his gun? Is this some kind of bug or error? Its attack and range have been increased by 30 times, which is 3 times stronger than the unique 9-enchantment rocket launcher of one American guild. But he has a musket, so the firepower should be twice as fast. Not to mention the incredible 90% defense and skill ignoring. Also, the musket now has 6 slots. Can just one weapon have that many? He burst into tears of happiness and thought that he never imagined that he would be so lucky. With a musket like this, he can handle these guilds on his own. Maybe he will even fulfill his dream and get rank 1. At that moment, a rift appeared in the sky and a bright light fell on them. A huge eye looked at them from the rift, and the creature said that he was Shamchan, the liberator of the sun. Brahman said that it seemed like the imprinted soul had come to look at him once. Shamchan wrapped Kyohei's body in fetters and said that, before making a contract, he must enter his vessel. MC asked him to wait and explain something to him, but he covered his mouth and he thought, does he want to enter his vessel? He reached out to Brahman, begging for help, but he just waved and wished him luck. He got angry and mentally exclaimed that this was not what he wanted. Then he was sucked into the rift. He found himself in darkness, and his first thought here was that he seemed to be in space. The system announced a new quest, Shamchan Challenge. Difficulty, S rank. The liberator of the sun summoned him to the Tomb of Paradise. He must do everything in his power to gain his approval. Does he accept the challenge? He thought, if he gains his approval, does that mean he will be able to use the musket with the 19th enchantment? He remembered that player and thought, nothing is free, there is no turning back. Now that he has come this far, it is all or nothing. He agreed to accept the challenge, and then he woke up above the clouds and thought, is this paradise? He had never seen so much free space. When he looked down, he found that the surface here was made of the corpses of monsters. Shamchong appeared in front of him in his form and told him that this was the Tomb of Paradise, the place where he obtained the 6-pointed star. Kyohei thought, is this him? Everything is exactly like him, from his face to his equipment. Shamchong said that those who are willing to fight for the 6-pointed star must rise from the lowest depths to the highest peaks. This power is not for the weak, so let him fight him and prove himself worthy. MC sighed tiredly and thought that he had no idea what he was talking about, but he just needed to defeat him. Luckily, it was not as scary as he thought. At the same time, his clone jumped high in the air and aimed, about to shoot. Seeing the musket pointed right at him, Kyohei jumped back a second before the shot, and Shamchong, turning to him, asked if he could challenge him. MC meanwhile backed away and thought that that move just now is one of his movement skills. 1,000 steps. It is a passive skill that increases the range of the first step taken at the beginning of the fight. He has to admit, not only does he have his appearance, but also all of his skills and combos are exactly the same. Since he doesn't want to give it to him for free, he will force him. He aimed, used skills, causing several magic circles to appear nearby, and then told him in his mind that he will show him the difference between a clone and the original. After that, he fired. Several bullets flew at high speed towards his opponent, and there was an explosion. But despite this, he was still full of strength. MC noticed a shadow trail under his feet, and immediately tilted his head to the side, dodging the shot. The bullet left a small wound on his cheek, and he thought that this is what a shadow fight looks like. They have absolutely the same S-class skills, but how terrible it is to give up the initiative in a fight literally against your shadow. He quickly ran to the side, distancing himself from his opponent, and he began to scour the area with his eyes in search of him. Hearing the sound, he turned around, but Kyohei immediately shot him, and a fire broke out. As soon as the smoke cleared, MC disappeared, and his opponent asked, "Did he decide to hide?" This is such an unoriginal trick. Does he think this will help him? In the meantime, he used something, and then shot, and a powerful stream of energy flew at Shamchon. He easily dodged the attack, and said that he knows his skills and level very well. Is he sure he will survive this fight? Peeking out from a cloud of smoke, Kyohei thought that he was so talkative, then shot, but his opponent dodged again and noted that he was continuing to play hide-and-seek. He forces him to end this fight in one shot. While several bullets were flying at him, he attacked back and MC threw his upper body back, avoiding the blow. But then, something amazing happened. His opponent's musket was right in front of him, and he said it was all over. Feeling something, he turned around and seeing his cloak on fire, he thought, was it a trap? Did he lure him on purpose, hoping to catch him off guard? He looked around and said it was not bad, but still not enough to win. He took off his cloak, then picked up his musket and asked where he would hide if he destroyed all his rats' hiding places. After that, he started shooting at everything around, destroying places to hide. He told him to run, hide, cheat, but he would not fool him. It would be all over this time. Shamchong found him, which made him nervous, and when he pointed a musket at him and told him to disappear, MC tied his legs and musket so that he could not move. Seeing this, Shamchong thought, is this a trap again? MC meanwhile took aim and thought that he only needed one moment. This is not a skill but a feint that he developed based only on physical capabilities, and it is called Field of Vision. His opponent smirked and said that he understood everything. All this time, he deliberately gave away his location so that he would be guaranteed to be shot from a blind spot. He tried to break free from his shackles, and at the same moment a shot was fired. In the end, Kyohei was defeated. He was able to injure his opponent, but his blow was stronger. Shamchong smiled and admitted that he was a good vessel, so he, the liberator of the sun, makes a contract with him. Now, they can be reborn from the ashes of hell together. After that, MC was returned back, and as soon as he woke up, he got up with a loud scream. Brahman immediately asked how everything went, and a system window appeared in front of him, informing him about the task completion. As a reward, he received a contract with the liberator of the sun. Kyohei was very happy. His gun was intact. It seems that he spent the luck that he had been saving up his whole life. Finally, bad luck will stop haunting him. He burst into tears of happiness, but the next system message made him come into shock. According to the contract, the reincarnation process was activated. He remembered Shamchong's last words and became very nervous, after which he shouted in rage that they had not agreed on this. All his skills, titles, achievements, debuffs began to disappear. Everything that he had developed for 10 whole years of his life simply disappeared because of some contract. The system reported that he was receiving a title by concluding a contract with the liberator of the sun, the Lord of the Six-Pointed Star. The reincarnation process is complete. Now he is back at level 1 with his initial stats. Naked, upset, weak and poor, Kyohei looked at the status window, and Brahman asked, what's wrong with him? Where did his clothes go? MC just looked down, after which the system reported that the user's heart rate has exceeded 250 beats per second. In order to preserve health, disconnection from the server has been performed. Seeing that he had disappeared, the blacksmith became very excited and exclaimed, where did he go? He probably returned to his world, and he wanted to thank him because thanks to him he gained enlightenment as a blacksmith. He engraved a message on his hammer and then left. He doesn't know how soon he will meet this traveler again, but now he himself intends to travel. Although a miracle has happened and he has become a master, his knowledge is still limited. However, he will look forward to the day when he will meet his dear benefactor. To him, who has performed 19 miracles, he wishes for good luck to accompany him forever. Meanwhile, Kyohei jumped out of the game capsule, clenched his fists, and then roared loudly in mental pain. In the past, 3 years after the release of the game company organized a meeting. They discussed the possibility of enchanting a unique weapon 10 times. The man asked if such enhancements were acceptable. The guilds that managed to do this will bathe in glory. His colleagues said that he believed it would take another 5 or 6 years before players would be able to enchant a weapon 10 times. The man asked what the probability was that in 10 years players would be able to enchant a weapon for 15 levels, and he was told that they did not know for sure, but the probability was high. If this happened, then players would go through any new content at an excessively high speed. For this to happen, a hero would need to be found who could enchant his weapon 19 times. They don't think this is possible, do they? His colleagues laughed and said that this couldn't be. If this happened, the entire balance of the game would be completely destroyed. The world has never seen such luck. Currently, MC entered the game and checked his character. He grabbed his head and realized that it was not a dream. All his progress over the past 10 years just sank into oblivion. It would not be so bad if the level was reset, but all the skills and titles were gone. But he still has a musket with the 19th enchantment. With this, he will be able to pump up his level again. He decided to think positively, because in his hands the most powerful weapon in the game. With this, he will instantly return his level and skills. But first, he decided to eat. He left the dark room into the corridor, and when he looked at the front door, he noticed an envelope stuck in the crack. These were some documents. At first he thought that the postman had made a mistake with the apartment, but when he began to read the contents of the letter, his face became more and more furious with each second. Meanwhile, Manhwa came to his guild Alibaba and told the master that, as per his order, the character Ted was successfully deleted. He asked, "Did everything go smoothly?" He confirmed it and added that the tracking spell stopped working. And it wasn't just removed, it was as if the target no longer existed. But it seems he knows that they tame bosses. Even though he cast Oblivion on him, he's not sure if it helped at all. Lady Wangjui told him not to be so afraid. What's the point of thinking about it now? Even if he tells someone about it, who will believe him? Their guild has never directly harmed anyone. The merchant ships destroyed by the three-headed sea dragon just happened to be in its path. And there were simply no high-level players in the raid on it, so all the attackers died. Just a coincidence that happens every day. There is no evidence of their involvement in these events. Manhwa gritted his teeth and thought that maybe he shouldn't worry so much about that idiot, but GV meanwhile asked the master, "Something's bothering him, right?" It seems like that snake is bothering him. He squeezed the armrest so hard that he broke it, and confirmed it. She said that the rules of the game were recently revised, making it much more difficult for player killers, but they managed to legally destroy him on 2 fronts at once. Kyohei meanwhile tore up the letter in anger and exclaimed, "Are they deciding to freeze his account because of a lawsuit? Is his video infringing on their rights? First of all, taming a boss is illegal. Who in their right mind would do something like that? What are they even thinking?" But the trial date hasn't been set yet, so their goal is not to win this lawsuit, but to bankrupt him so that he starves to death. He clenched his fist and thought, maybe he should hand over the materials to Rudasat and expose them anyway? He immediately dismissed the thought. They would just pull the strings from behind the scenes again. And it would be no use. What is unknown at the moment is that he has a 19th enchantment musket. And because of the rebirth, all the curses disappeared, so they are convinced that his character is deleted. He stepped on a torn letter and exclaimed in rage that if they wanted a war against an inveterate loser, then they would get one. He returned to the game and first disguised himself as a teddy bear. Ted is a common nickname, so no one will care about this. But he was still upset. He got a super enchanted item, although he expected it to break, but he had to sell all his epic equipment to at least have something to live on. He can't wear them anyway because of the level reset. He noticed a hammer nearby, emitting energy from itself, and took it. He immediately realized that it was the Brahmin hammer and thought, why is it here? He read its message. In it, he thanked him for his help, but he still lacks knowledge and experience, so he goes to Tom Gray, so let him look at him when he has time. MC put the hammer in his inventory and thought that this NPC received the masterclass thanks to him. Maybe he should look at him when he levels up. There was a loud sound. Someone jumped out of the bushes at high speed. It was a level 1 horned rabbit. Kyohei immediately took out his musket and aimed, then fired. He was already glad that he was able to kill it, but when the rabbit looked at him upset and ran away, he was very surprised and he exclaimed, "Are they kidding me? He can't even kill a level 1 monster in one shot? He has such a cool gun, so what's the problem?" He opened the status window and started to look for the problem. It was all because of his title, Owner of the 6-pointed star. His current progress rate is 0.1%. The boost will increase as Shamchan's level increases. It can be equipped with 6 skill spheres from D rank. When using a weapon equipped with a skill sphere in battle, it will gain experience points and can evolve a total of 4 times. When replacing the skill sphere in the slot, all experience points accumulated in it will be lost. He thought, so he will become stronger if he increases his level? By the way, the description of these skills looks like cheating. A skill sphere is an item that allows you to use skills that cannot be acquired within the selected class, and each skill from the sphere can be improved. In other words, this title allows him to pump absolutely any skill to the maximum. He laughed quietly and thought that with such strength, he will not only trample this Chinese guild into the dirt, he will soar to the top of the rankings. He spread his arms out to the side, laughing loudly, and then decided to level up a little, and only then choose a profession. Meanwhile, in the location Deep Eagle Forest for level 10 and above, screams of players were heard. Two guys ran in horror from the monster and the mage asked, "He is a tank, right? Let him distract this monster." He exclaimed in response. He saw how it dealt with a high-ranking player with one blow. He himself is a mage. He can just hit this bird with something stronger. He exclaimed in response, "Is he kidding? He already spent all his mana protecting him." At that moment, something fell in front of them with a crash, and they slowed down. It turned out to be a guy from their group. His body began to disappear, and the tank trembled with fear, and then the mage's scream was heard. He turned around, but only his hat remained. Because of this, he became even more nervous and decided to run away from here as soon as possible. But then something fell on him from above. It was the body of his comrade. It crushed him, and when he looked up to the sky, he saw that very monster, a huge eagle, who was going to finish him off too. The system window reported, the location is Deep Eagle Forest. The recommended level is 10 and above. MC shot the eagle, which squeaked loudly. He said that this way he will quickly regain his level. He adjusted the bear's head, and the system window reported that his level has been increased. The current level is 7. Kyohei looked at it and said, "Only level 7, and the damage has already exceeded 300 units. Seriously, what kind of cheat is this?" Suddenly, he heard a loud scream and looked towards it. Dark smoke was billowing not far from him, and MC asked, "What is that?" He sighed and said, "Yes, the main highlight of this location is the white-necked eagle." He thought that it attacks everyone indiscriminately, be it an ordinary NPC or a player. Even when the creature is full, it will tirelessly pursue its prey. The players ran away, and MC thought that the eagle itself did not have much health, but its mobility, wild aggression, and speed in flight. It was a real pain in the ass for beginners. Kyohei looked at how the eagle grabbed the player and said how much he himself suffered with this creature. At one time, it got him so much that he took revenge on real pigeons. He took aim and said, "Well, the time of reckoning has come." The players disappeared, and G attacked the monster in the wing. The creature turned around and screamed loudly, heading towards a huge burnt hole in the tree. Kyohei attacked the creature again, but in the second wing. It grabbed a large log and flew even higher, when suddenly MC attacked the paws. The creature dropped the log and injured its paw, after which MC struck again. The eagle looked around and screamed loudly, and after a while it flew down to the ground, squealing loudly in pain. Kyohei came out of hiding and said, "What a thrill." His stealth level had also increased from being in an ambush, so he decided to prolong the pleasure a little. The creature itself had brought him to it. The eagle looked at Kyohei with its pitiful gaze, after which MC struck. After a while, MC opened the system window and asked, "So what do they have here? 22 white-necked eagle feathers? Will this recoup the cost of the ammo he spent on the creature?" Kyohei was delighted and said, "Well, the quota for today is fulfilled. Is it time to choose a class?" After a while, MC approached a wooden building and said he hadn't been here for a long time, Shiboli Musketeer Academy. He knocked and thought. Once the head of the academy offered him to become his student, but he immediately refused. But it's never too late to change your mind, right? A man peeked out from behind the door and asked, "And he?" Kyohei said, "Good afternoon. He came here to receive the musketeer class." But the strongest musketeer specialist, Raiden asked a question. "A traveler, right?" MC thought about it. The title specialist is the third in the musketeer class branch, right? That means his level is above 500. But who is he? He said, "He came here to change his class to musketeer, and who is he?" Raiden grabbed his head and answered, "He is the current head of Shiboli Academy." He put his hand in front of himself and apologized, saying that they are not accepting students at the moment. Please let him apply to another academy. Kyohei shouted loudly, "What? Isn't the master of Shiboli in charge of this academy?" He thought it was he who offered him to become his student. Why did they suddenly change the master? Raiden started to close the door and said, "It's none of his business." He asks MC to leave. Kyohei grabbed the door and asked him to wait. He was Baron Shiboli's disciple. Well, more precisely, a candidate for his disciple. He asked to tell him what was wrong with him. The Baron offered him to become his disciple, but due to circumstances, he declined his offer that time. However, they remained on friendly terms, so Raiden grabbed him by the clothes and lifted him into the air. He screamed loudly, "You bastard!" Did he think of talking to him? MC thought in fear, why such aggression? He said that he didn't understand what he was talking about. Raiden screamed, "On friendly terms? If so, why doesn't he know that Mr. Shiboli disappeared a few years ago?" MC widened his eyes in surprise and thought, "What? Baron Shibolu disappeared?" Raiden threw out MC and shouted if he was sent by the idiots from Special PA, he should get lost right now, before he personally finished him off. Kyohei shouted, What kind of special PA? Raiden pointed his finger at him and said, if he dared to lie or bring up his master's name again, he would rip out his filthy tongue and make sure his demise was slow enough. MC clenched his fist and thought, but it's true. He didn't really value the connections of the past, but he definitely didn't deserve such treatment from a man who didn't even know him. He said, the 40 exam. Raiden stopped and asked, what? Kyohei stood up and said, the way he spoke about the Baron indicates that he was his junior, right? The 40 is still held at this academy, right? Raiden frowned and said, it seems like he really did study here. But why would a person who has completed training come here again to get a profession? His actions are extremely illogical. MC stood up and offered him to just test him. He wants to take the exam. The 40 exam. According to the game's lore, it was created by Baron Shiboli himself out of boredom. This exam is only held at this academy to obtain the musketeer class. MC showed all 10 of his fingers and said, 10 copper coins, 10 bullets. He has 10 seconds to hit from a distance of 10 meters. The essence of this exam hasn't changed, has it? Raiden replied, no. It seems he is really studying here, but he can't believe that the master is offering him to become his student. Kyohei said, as he already said, he can back up his words with actions. In turn, he will receive the class he wanted. Raiden turned away and said, then he will prepare the examination ground. He needs to pass and wait a little. MC followed him in and thought, it's problematic of course that Baron Shiboli isn't here, but they're happy with what they've got. Each academy gives different skills upon graduation. For example, here you can get the skill 1,000 steps. The system window reported, the skill 1,000 steps is a passive skill that increases the range of the first step taken at the beginning of a fight. It is active only after 5 seconds of preliminary standing still. The dash range will increase by 0.05 of a meter for every 1% of the musketeer class mastery. MC thought, due to the characteristics of the class, requiring high mobility and distance, this is simply a necessary passive skill. For comfortable further pumping and obtaining skills, he needs this passive in class. He looked to the side and thought, this is the gunsmith Renaro. He waved his hand and said loudly, they haven't seen each other for a long time. Renaro, it's him, Ted. Renaro passed him by and didn't answer. MC thought, what's wrong with him? He's been working for the Baron for years. How could he not recognize him? Maybe it's because of the bear's face? Raiden loudly ordered him to move. After a while, MC reached the place and thought, the training ground was really worn out. Maybe the reward for getting a class also changed? I wonder where the Baron went. Raiden folded his arms and said, for a fair exam, he will be given a musket from the armory. He will repeat the rules of the exam. If from this place he hits 10 coins 10 times, in 10 seconds from a distance of 10 meters, he can consider the exam passed. He can start when he's ready. Kyohei took aim and thought, what the hell? What's up with the scope anyway? A quality weapon is part of the exam. And how can you consider this fair now? He called out to Renaro, who didn't react at all and thought, what? What an idiot. He gave him such a musket on purpose. Raiden peeked out from behind him and asked what was wrong with it. He bragged so much about passing. Where was the fuse? MC replied, before they started, he needed to clarify something. He fired towards Renaro, who ducked even more and screamed in fear. Raiden asked, what was he doing? What kind of barbaric behavior was this within the academy? He decided to wait a second. He was aiming right at Renaro's head, right? Aiming from such a distance and not hitting. His musket was faulty. He extended his hand and said, Traveler, he will replace his weapon right now. It's better not to do that again. He widened his eyes in surprise and asked, what? Kyohei aimed and thought that from the muzzle of the musket to Renaro's head, there were about 1.5 meters. If you take into account the position, then the error from the left is 15 and from the top 27 units. To hit the target accurately, it is enough to aim to the right and lower. Raiden opened his mouth in surprise and thought, it can't be. He hits the coins, even with the aim knocked down. MC said, 10 seconds have passed, so what? Is this worthy of the highest score? Raiden answered, yes. He thought that it was not only a matter of good shooting. The reload time of the explosive magical engraving inside the musket is exactly 1 second. One wrong move, even with an error of 1/10 of a second, will cause a misfire and the shooting will be delayed. And he knew all this, having calculated everything so that each bullet hits the second per second. He's definitely a level 10 rookie who doesn't even have a class. Raiden clapped and said, he's never seen a musketeer do so well on the exam. He smiled and said, he admits he clearly has talent. No wonder the master was interested in him. He'll get everything ready for the class change right now. He just needs to wait a little. MC spread his arms out in different directions and said he's counting on him. He smiled and thought, that was close. The last coin was fluttering in the wind, and he barely touched it. He would have died of shame if he failed the exam, deciding to pass it on Pathos with a terrible weapon. The terrible stupid wind almost ruined everything for him. And now, suddenly he called out to Renaro and knocked him to the ground. He asked, what, did he lose the coin? Why is he pretending not to remember him? He slipped him that very scope. Renaro said that he hated him. It was because of him that the Baron disappeared. Their academy was on the verge of closing down because they hadn't produced any famous adventurers for a long time. The Baron was desperate to get him as a student, but he brazenly refused him and left them. The Baron decided that it was his fault and that he needed to strive for greater skill. After that, he disappeared. Kyohei let him go and asked if that was a reason to give him a broken musket. Renaro replied that he knew from the beginning that it wouldn't stop him from passing. He couldn't just sit back. He was his master's only hope, and he treated him so heartlessly. MC looked down and thought, considering everything the Baron had done for him, he could understand why he was so angry. But he was interested in the ranking back then, not additional training. MC grabbed his head and asked for forgiveness. Renaro said that there was no need for an apology. He'll leave them again as soon as he gets a class, right? He held out the box and told him to take this. Kyohei took it and asked, "What about this?" Renaro said, before leaving the academy, the master handed him this and told him to give this gift to Ted if he came to see them. He even felt sorry that he had to give it to someone like him. MC thought, even though he was angry, he wanted to fulfill his master's will. Despite the fact that he was an NPC, they had emotions and feelings embedded in them. Renaro said, since he would continue his journey, he might meet the master. If he met him, tell him that they were waiting for his return. Kyohei asked to forgive him for everything, and Renaro said, no, he messed up himself. He'll probably go. MC looked at the box and thought, now he was really interested in what kind of gift such a mischievous person like the Baron could have left for him. He pulled the ribbon and said, it's time to check. He widened his eyes in surprise and said, it's the same. A bright glow appeared from the box and MC said, it's a skill sphere. The system window reported that it was a D-rank single skill sphere. MC screamed. He was so lucky. It's a single skill sphere. He thought about it. Single skill spheres contain skills that are not found in the standard skill tree. And thanks to his title, even weak skills can be developed, making them even stronger. The system window reported, the title is Owner of the Six-Pointed Star. The progression speed of this is 0.1%. The game will increase as Shachan's level increases. It can be equipped with 6 skill spheres from D rank. When using a weapon equipped with a skill sphere in battle, it will gain experience points and can evolve a total of 4 times. When replacing a skill sphere in a slot, all experience points accumulated in that slot will be lost. MC thought a single skill combined with a 6-pointed star can be developed in a way that has never been seen in the game before. Just what a future ranker like him needs. Kyohei shouted loudly, Baron, thank him very much. Activate the sphere of a single skill. The system window reported, Skill Sphere, Goblin Summon. Activated skill type uses 50 units of mana. Cooldown, 1 hour. He can summon 3 normal goblins of level 30. Duration is 30 minutes. You can increase the levels of goblins with hunting superiority. MC asked again, what? Goblin summoning? The weakest monsters? Maybe there is something else besides the sphere? Well, anything. A package fell out of the box and Kyohei asked, a letter? He began to read, idiot, did he seriously believe that he would leave something valuable for him? Let him consider it his little revenge for leaving his academy. If there are any complaints, he will wait for him in the city of the Ash Sky. MC laughed and then tore up the letter and screamed, what a moron. He will kick his decrepit ass when they meet. After some time, on the location of the Sauron Plains, where the recommended level is 20 and above, there were goblins. They looked around and struck the players. The knight screamed, healer, is she sleeping or something? The girl ordered to let her concentrate. He must hold them back. Does he even have an idea how many times today she has completely healed him? Suddenly, a bullet flew into the goblin's head and the knight screamed, what just happened? A sniper? The healer screamed in irritation, who dared to steal their experience? MC was sitting on a tree and saying, God, how many days has he been sitting like this? System window reported that his level had been increased to 59. Kyohei said, of course he is glad to level up, but this is a task. The system window reported, it congratulated him. He was successfully assigned the musketeer class. 2 new skills are available to graduates of Shibboleth Academy. The passive skill, Musket Master, and 1,000 steps. Some time ago, MC screamed, no way. Raiden grabbed him by the shoulders and told him not to say that. He's one of them. A musketeer of Shibboleth Academy. MC said, he just wanted to get a class and do other things. He already has plenty of that. Raiden screamed, all he needs to do is visit the Sauron Plains. He dragged after him and said, he's a traveler, he'll be passing by anyway. MC thought, the Sauron Plains is a low to mid-level location. It's a place where you can quickly farm yourself a level, but why should he help this idiot's academy? Raiden said, recently people from the Sauron Plains started complaining about a strange moving black cloud. Any information he could get regarding this cloud would be very helpful. The system window announced that a new quest was available, Raiden's Alert. Raiden of the Shibboleth Musketeer Academy had asked him to investigate a strange phenomenon in the sky on the Sauron Plains. Would he accept the quest? MC replied, on one condition. He introduced him to the Thieves clan. He wanted to create a hybrid thief musketeer class. He thought about how thieves and similar classes didn't have their own academy, so it was difficult to learn. But a thief had something that MC would definitely need in the future. Raiden cleared his throat and said, that wouldn't be difficult. He would contact the Thieves clan, and he was supposed to get him some valuable information. Kyohei extended his hand and said, shake. The system window announced that the quest had been accepted. MC was currently thinking, of course he was angry at the Baron, but he had no idea what this City of Ash Sky was. Maybe along the way in this quest chain he'll be able to find it. He took aim and said, and now? Suddenly a guy flew into the goblin and stabbed him in the body with a sword. MC said discontentedly, and this is not the first time this has happened. Who are they anyway? Wait, is that a camera? Streamers it seems. MC thought, and he had to stop streaming because of threats, and as a result he is forced to hang around here. Okay, calm down. No need to take out your anger on them. He will not get anything from killing players, only lose his reputation. All that remains is to squash the last monster, and he will have level 60 in the pocket. He aimed the sight at the huge monster when suddenly he stopped seeing anything. He questioningly looked away and asked, where did it go? In front of him stood a huge monster which blocked the view. MC thought sadly, an inflatable doll? Why is it that now, when he is hunting, these streamers have nothing to do and they use all sorts of entertaining nonsense? Maybe he should just squash them so they don't get in the way? No, he's above that. What's more important now is reaching level 60. Inflatable dolls started appearing from different places, after which Kyohei grabbed his head and said, no, he changed his mind. He took aim and said, it seems like there's a whole line of dummies lined up to get hit. An inflatable doll grabbed a goblin and screamed, Bulbury-san, thanks for the donation. For their sake, they'll give these guys a bloodbath. At that moment, the inflatable doll burst and another player asked, what's wrong with him? Why did he burst so suddenly? The player replied, there's no point in picking up monsters. The monster pierced him and he stupidly died. An idiot, in a word. Then a shot hit the players and the others screamed, what's going on? The player screamed, there's a sniper here, they need to run. Where to run? They're on a plane. It's everywhere, in full view. Someone shouted, they need to get out of the inflatable dolls quickly. The system window reported that MC had increased his level. Now he is level 65. A murder of players was committed. The crime index is 700 points. MC smiled and said, how nice. Finally he killed those annoying insects. Their levels seem to be over 150. The penalty for dying in-game is a week-long ban. The index is only 700 points. It's not that bad. MC smiled and said, here it is. The system window said he had been concentrating for a long time, which strengthens his vision. The additional status, Vigilance, was formed. Does he want to use it? Kyohei said it was a very useful status, especially for his class. MC pressed the button with the answer, yes, and asked, so will he continue? He started shooting at the players and then said with a puzzled voice, he would never have thought that this status would increase his damage so much. He didn't aim at them on purpose. Who cares, as long as the experience points are dripping? Suddenly a system window appeared in front of him, and MC asked, what's this? At that moment, Cherise slammed his fist on the table and screamed, what does that mean? The entire group from the first sector was killed? The player asked the master to forgive him in fear, and Cherise screamed, and they don't even know who killed them? How come no one could see him? The guy stood there, looking down and said, it all happened so fast. It must have been a sniper, that's why it was hard to pinpoint his location. Because the first sector is a plane, the players couldn't dodge. Cherise said, the killing of the rubber doll players was a deliberate attack and not an accident. Maybe it's the sniper from Nightwalker? Still, a sniper who killed a group of 7 level 200 people must be at least level 400. He threw him a small bag and told him to take it. The guy said, master, it's this. Cherise replied, whoever he is, he's a threat to their plans. Let him use this. A multiplayer game that took over the world. Chronicles of Fate. Most of the Japanese players settled in the Kingdom of Charon, Sauron Plains, the largest hunting grounds for beginners. After a while, MC appeared in the Kingdom of Charon in Sauron County. He frowned and said that going back and forth takes a lot of time, so he wanted to come here after finishing the Raiden quest. Kyohei poked his finger at the system window and asked, so what did he get? The system window reported that a new skill, Mosquito Bullet, is available to him. Title, Agile Sniper. In 10 days, he shot about 10,000 monsters. However, his crime index is too high, apparently because he shot players too. He is a marksman, but at the same time not the most law-abiding player. 10% bonus to health, a new skill, Mosquito Bullet, is available. MC asked again, Agile Sniper? This is the first time he sees such a title and skill. He thought, although he understands, the developers could have easily introduced this for those who are so crazy that they can kill 10,000 monsters in 10 days. The system window reported, the skill Mosquito Bullet is an activated skill. Cost, 100 units of mana, cooldown 10 minutes. Mastery level 0%, synchronization coefficient 0%. The health of the target affected by the mosquito is transferred to the player. The higher the mastery level, the better its synchronization. The higher the synchronization coefficient, the more accurately he can direct the mosquito bullet. The damage of the mosquito bullet is 10% of the player's damage. The speed of health absorption is 50% of the damage. MC asked again, health steal? As much as 50% of the damage. At the moment, he has about 8,000 damage, it turns out. With 5% of health, he will be able to heal about 400 points per hit? Yes, that's half of his total health. How lucky. He doesn't have to worry at all. Suddenly, spears were put in front of his face, and the system window reported, attention, The guards don't trust him. His crime index is too high. His current crime index is 4,700 points. Kyohei grabbed his head and said, well, I guess he'll go, huh? He walked away from the gate and thought, it's better not to stick his head out for now, since the index is so high. MC turned around and saw two guys pestering a boy. He asked, what are they doing? The bandit ordered him to stand still. One mistake and he'll lose all his items. The boy screamed in fear and the system window reported the Outcast's magic book. This is a magic book that allows you to forcibly reveal some of your information to other users. Information is being processed. Name, Binpan Emponpon, and level 22. Occupation, Musketeer, crime index 0. The guy said discontentedly, another weakling. He ordered Binpan to get lost before he slapped him. The bandit sat down at the guy's feet and said, he said from the beginning, it's useless. And why are they doing this? The guy asked, does he think he likes it? Cleaning up after idiots who didn't even notice who killed them. He looked away thoughtfully and asked, does he see the guy at the gate? The bandit answered irritably, oh my god, come on. They've been standing here for half a day, inspecting everyone who enters the city. MC thought, this scroll, does it reveal basic information about the player? Who are they? Are they from CGTV or Alabama? The guy asked, when will this guy show up? The bandit answered, who knows? He said that he will definitely be here today. Kyohei thought, no, if these were guys from those guilds, there would be a huge group here. He better get out of here before it's too late, since he can't sniff them out. Suddenly, he ran into the guy and screamed really loudly and then fell to the ground and cried out in pain. The guy asked for forgiveness. He hasn't been here for a long time. He was distracted by the map and didn't look where he was going. Is he okay? Before he could finish speaking, he stopped and looked at MC's gun. He helped him up and asked, B&W? MC was scared and thought, oh my, he had completely relaxed, believing in his disguise. He didn't think that they could recognize his gun. Did he come for it? The guy screamed, he must be a big Ted fan, right? MC looked at him puzzled and Lone screamed, come on, stop being modest. He is one of the most famous musketeers. His musket is an exact copy of Ted's gun. He must have spent a lot of money to get it. Kyohei said, well thanks. He thought fearfully, so he didn't recognize it? Maybe he should tell everyone that his musket is just a copy of the original Ted gun? Lone frowned and said, but as a Ted fan, he wants to warn him, it's better not to linger here. MC asked again, but why? Did something happen? Lone cleared his throat and replied, Special PA. So does he know anything about the Paprika Special Offensive Group? Kyohei thought about it. When he streamed, he was not particularly interested in other content makers and colleagues in the industry. He answered, not really. He mainly sat on Ted's streams. Lone laughed and said that he understood him perfectly. Special PA is a Category B guild that has gained huge popularity due to its peculiar content. For example, on streams they make criminals out of NPCs using fake evidence. MC answered with strong disgust that this is not a guild, but a gathering of freaks. Lone put his hand to his lips and said, according to rumors, a group from this guild was broadcasting on the Sauron Plain and one musketeer shot them all. MC looked at him puzzled, and Lone said, it seems like the guild leader took this as a declaration of war and is now hunting this guy. He didn't see anyone there, by the way. MC thought, it's about him, right? He started waving his arms and shouted loudly, no, he didn't see anyone or anything. Lone said, except for the guild members, there was no one on the plane. That's why no one caught the criminal. But they are looking for him now, although in his opinion, it's a waste of time. Bandits from the guild pestered every player, and Kyohei thought fearfully. And again, luck did not stay with him for long. We should get busy with missions and leveling up, he said. If they continue to scare people, other guilds will not stay on the sidelines. Lone snapped his fingers and said, that's right. He forgot to say why else he shouldn't stay here. They attacked the Nightwalker Guild yesterday, and a serious battle broke out between them. MC asked again, what? Lone replied, well, these two guilds have been in conflict for a long time, and this incident served as a trigger. Special PA are convinced that it was Nightwalker who sent a sniper to their group of streamers. But they could not expect a direct attack from Nightwalker, so the guild suffered significant losses. They usually keep order, being a kind of knights, but even they were not ready for something like this. Suddenly, MC shouted, log out. The system window reported that user Ted had logged offline. Lone looked around in confusion and asked, did he really say something wrong? Horror. He finally found a player with similar tastes and apparently said too much. Suddenly there was a scream. He was there. Lone turned around and asked, what do they need? The guys asked, he was the mercenary hired by the master, right? Right. Lone asked, why did they come out to meet him? The guy answered, the master asked to make sure he arrived in the voice. Lone screamed, horror, he forgot to call him. The guy looked away and said, the master has high hopes for him, because this is a very important mission, but as he thinks, he does not inspire confidence. The other guy ordered him to shut up, if he values his life. This kid is a rancor. Lone dialed the master and asked, hello. The master asked, did he get to the county of Sauron? Lone answered, yeah, he just arrived. He just needs to kill the target, right? The master ordered him not to do anything for now. He gave his subordinate a magic bag. He will be on backup. He can manage without it. Lone answered, as he says. The system window reported that this musketeer is the strongest hunter of moonlight alone. His level is 551, and he also ranks 231 in the rating table. After a while, MC typed in the search engine, Special Offensive Group Paprika, and said, stream date, channel news. Here it is. A fight that the guild was involved in. He thought that the Special PA was already on bad terms with the Nightwalker Guild, and this sudden attack finally escalated their conflict. Special PA claimed that it was Nightwalker who started the fight by killing their group of streamers. Several members of the Nightwalker Guild were injured. Based on their code of neutrality, the guild members did not provoke further conflict and decided to retreat. Why was it always him? Kyohei grabbed his head and thought, if he does something insignificant, he causes a massive problem. Nightwalker is a guild of rankers led by his older brother. Should he contact him? He decided to call him, and then remembered the conflict inside and said, well, this is a problem, but he has no choice. He dialed his brother's number, and his brother answered and asked, hello. Kyohei, did he really call him first? MC said, hi, how is he? Brother replied, no need to worry, he's fine. True, the role of guildmaster takes a lot of time, but he's not complaining. How is he? Mom and Dad, by the way, saw his stream. They were sincerely happy for him. Kyohei replied, yeah, he'd better tell him. He heard something about the guild's Special Offensive Group Paprika? Brother asked. He means Special PA? He heard, but what's the question? Did they do something to him? MC frowned and said that he met them on the Sauron Plain. Members of this guild openly troll other players and prevent them from leveling up in the starting location. He learned about their line of work in the content. It's not for everyone, he'll say so. They don't just troll newbies, they deliberately send their streamers to the county to reduce the number of players. MC's eyes widened in fear and he asked, cut back? Really? Brother replied, that's right. They're preparing to conquer Sauron County, making it the guild's main base. If the county is besieged, newbies who aren't guild members will stand in their way. That's why they came up with this incredible tactic. They sent streamers to the hunting grounds and started interfering with other players. Naturally, none of their players would want to stay there after that. This strategy worked. There are fewer and fewer players in Sauron County, Kyohei thought, so that's why they were acting like idiots. He unknowingly interfered with a hopeless nightmare. If the siege begins, the county will no longer be accessible. He needs to complete the quest and get out of there before it's too late. Brother asked, by the way, Kyohei, why doesn't he stream anymore? He won't leave any explanations on the channel. Mom and Dad are worried. Yeah, him too. MC replied, everything is fine, nothing special. Brother said that it has been so many years since they all got together. Even Chi wants to see him. Suddenly there was a loud scream, brother. He said, okay, he's willing to wait as long as it takes. MC said, good luck to him, brother. And thanks for the information. He hung up and grabbed his head, looking down. He wondered, what the hell is he doing? Like some kind of loser. Well, that is true. Why can't his life just go smoothly like everyone else's? Why do all the worst things happen to him? And it has always been like this. No matter how hard he tries, whatever he does, he ends up in an even bigger nightmare. No, it has nothing to do with him. He just always finds himself in the middle of it all and has to suffer because of others. MC clenched his fists and said, and it's incredibly infuriating. First the illegal taming of bosses, now the trolls that interfere with literally everyone. He didn't start it. They provoked him. Right, it's not his fault. He lost everything he'd worked for overnight, and now he's forced to get involved in a new conflict? He slammed his fist on the table and screamed, it doesn't concern him. After a while, he lay down in the machine and thought, he should just level up. He should level up by the time they take the next step, and they will all face retribution at his hand. He entered the game and moved to the Sauron Plain location, the second zone. The knight struck the monster, and then turned around and said, but the opponents here are much stronger than in the first zone. The girl replied, then they will deal with each one individually. The knight wiped his face and said, then they will move on. His body changed in a matter of seconds, and he fell dead. The girl screamed in fear. What just happened? Are there monsters on the Sauron Plain that can literally suck health out of a player? The system window reported that the mosquito bullet successfully restored his health. MC said, this bullet really heals. Healed him from a distance due to the damage indicator. Cool. He never thought that he would get something so useful in the starting area. There is one but, he was not aiming at the player. The system window reported that he killed a player. His crime index is 4,800 points. Kyohei thought, if the crime index continues to rise, he simply will not be able to enter the county territory. But he can't control this mosquito at all. The system window reported, mosquito bullet. The proficiency level and synchronization coefficient are 0.1%. MC thought, apparently, it is better for him not to use this in locations with a lot of players. First, he should pump up the synchronization coefficient. He said, well, he better focus on pumping. The system window reported that he is level 99. He thought, in the game, after level 100, it becomes really hard to pump up. There is only one way to overcome this barrier, killing bosses like the three-headed sea dragon, or Inferno Orochi, for example. But there is a problem. There are no bosses on the Sauron Plain. And this is logical, because this is the starting location. He will have to go to the nearest area with a boss. but he still has not completed the Raiden quest, so what is the point of him running back and forth? What should he do? Suddenly he fell from the branch on which he was sitting and looked around. Loud screams were heard, a monster. They need to run. Kyohei asked, what just happened? He saw a huge monster and thought, is it a lesser demon? It is only summoned by the magic bag. Someone used this item on purpose? The demon swung the sphere and threw it towards the players, who were very scared of what was happening. They rushed to the side and ordered to run, to save themselves. Who can? The monsters screamed loudly and also rushed to run away. The player said, he hopes the camera conveys what's happening in the game well. He spread his arms in different directions and asked, don't they have fun watching these noobs die? Centuan donated 200 coins, thanks to him for the donation. The player grinned and said, who would have known that a stingy guildmaster would suddenly decide to use a magic bag? The guy grinned and answered, apparently, this is serious. The guy smiled and said, whoever cut down their allies, he is no match for a level 300 boss. Suddenly he looked up and screamed, what's wrong with him? MC was sitting in ambush and attacking the demon, saying that they were asking for it themselves. Stinking grinders. Although you have to give them credit. Kyohei thought, they brought the boss here for him. He started attacking the monster, and then screamed, 1,000 steps. He jumped to the side and thought, and that's the difference when he engages in battle with a level 300 enemy. Victory will not be easy. Better to keep a good distance and not slow down. The system window reported that his stealth level was 53%. The demon clenched its jaws in irritation, and blood began to flow from its hand. MC thought, he thinks 5 well-aimed shots will be enough to finish off the creature, but he needs to choose a suitable cover for something like this. Suddenly, he turned around and saw a huge black sphere rushing straight at him. It hit him, and he fell to the ground. Kyohei thought, horror. If not for the sightedness, he would have been left with no health at all. He needs to hide until his stealth level is. The system window reported that he was affected by necrotic poison. The restless evil spirit will exit his body in 5 minutes. Status, possession by a restless spirit. MC thought, necrotic poison? It seems like his health is not gradually being taken away, but his status. A bright glow began to emanate from his body, and MC screamed, nightmare, he was noticed! While a powerful explosion occurred on the field, one of the players looked out from behind a rock and whispered, is this the sniper they were looking for? Another player asked, what is he doing? They need to get out of here before they get caught in the heat of the moment. Before he could finish speaking, a player's body fell next to him. He screamed in fear, what the hell? At that moment, a shot flew into the demon's face. He grabbed his head. The protagonist said, phew, that was a relief. If there weren't people with a full hitbox nearby, he would have fallen back on the spot. Then he looked at the monster and asked, is this the first time he's fought a shooter who heals? Maybe? He grinned and suggested checking who's who, the gorilla on steroids. Then he threw a few magic projectiles at him. The protagonist thought. He started to think that he didn't have much health left. He should aim right at his head, and then, first, he needs to distract him somehow. The next second, he noticed an object in front of him, and smiling said, he figured out who would help him with this. At that moment, one of the players, also peeking out from behind a rock, said, damn, why is this guy so tenacious? If they screw up again, the master will hang them. Then he pointed his finger forward and shouted, what do you mean by that? This is a beginner's location, so he must be a beginner. No matter how much he runs, he will still die, right? His comrade agreed, they just need to wait. He can't handle it alone. Then another player came up to them and he shouted, is he an idiot? Where is he going? Does he want to die? He turned his gaze to him and asked, why so much panic? They just need to see how much loot is left after the fools die. And from other mobs too. They looked at the field strewn with boxes. He asked, are they just going to stand and watch the others take the free loot? With these words, he decided to climb over the stone. The player agreed, extra loot wouldn't hurt them, of course, but in this situation, they. At that moment, the player used an ability called 1,000 steps. The others, looking up at him, shouted in surprise, what was that? To weapons, quickly. Something jumped right into the grass. One of them said that he didn't see it. The player pointed his weapon at him and shouted, is he a complete idiot? Does he want to become a victim of a sniper, like the others? If they don't hide now, then. Before he could finish speaking, the demon appeared right above them and hit them with his clenched fists. The player shouted, this idiot. All he can do is cowardly hide and command. The magician shouted, we need to squash this demon ourselves, and that's the end of it. He objected, has he gone crazy? A magic bag costs about 3,000 gold. How is he going to explain this murder to the boss? He shouted back, they released this demon to find the sniper, right? He must be exhausted from all this fighting and hiding somewhere in the grass. If they hurry, they will find him. Before he could finish speaking, they were pierced by one shot. The player screamed in fear, they are all finished. His comrades screamed, they are trapped. Why did he even get involved in this? Then the demon crushed them with his huge hand. At this moment, MC, jumping from stone to stone, made his way forward. Looking through the scope, he said, a great angle. After that, he shot the demon, breaking off one of its horns. Coming closer, he pointed the gun at it and said, nothing personal, it was all for the sake of leveling up, I had to run. After that, he fired a bullet into the monster's neck and said, but it still died. Then he fell to the ground, and the system reported, the level has increased. The current level, 105. At that moment, one of the players, holding a telescope with a trembling hand, asked in bewilderment, "Did he kill him? Did he really succeed?" Meanwhile, another player was quickly running towards the loot. He was shouting, "Out of the way! All this loot will be his." But before he could finish speaking, the protagonist pointed a gun at the players, hitting the player in the head. He said, "Where are they running, jackals? Do they want to pocket the loot? And they don't want to go to hell?" Then the system reported that he killed the player. The crime index is 5400. After some time, he was sitting surrounded by loot and, having brought up a system window, said, "So, what do they have here?" It said, "The loot is 210 gold, a strong belt, a health potion, fragments of demon claws." He said, "In fact, except for the belt, nothing useful. If he sells everything, he will get about 90 gold. And this," he looked at the bottle in his hand in surprise. A system window appeared in front of him which said, "Necrotic poison. Restless evil spirit appears from the body of a person affected by poison 5 minutes after poisoning. Applications left 10 times. He said that it might come in handy. But he is worried about something else. What are these idiots from Spetspa going to do next? Meanwhile, Carice, the guildmaster of the special offensive group Paprika, clenched his fist and shouted, "What the hell are they doing? Their plan is going in one place because they can't kill one idiot," he thought. Killed a junior demon in 3 minutes. His level is about 500 or even higher. They can't compete with him. He spent so much money so that the county of Sauron finally became theirs. He would never have thought that in a location for beginners he would stumble upon such a monster. Then he called the player and thought that he couldn't waste their resources anymore. Lone answered the call and asked, "Is he listening?" He replied that it was him, the lesser demon had fallen. The player asked, "So what?" He was indignant. "What do you mean, so what?" He had to quickly go and finish off this idiot. His level was over 500, he could definitely handle him. He replied, "Well, does he understand? He was kind of on a mission here. But if he paid him more, of course, so be it, he would give it up." Carice put his hand to his face and said, "Okay." He thought, their plan should be put into action very soon. They needed to get rid of this evil spirit as soon as possible. Lone, sitting on the monster's body, looked at the rising moon and said, he seemed to have completely despaired. Okay, he would contact him when he arrived in the county. After some time, the protagonist found himself in the Sauron Plain location, the third zone. He ran forward, monsters ran after him. One of them put his hand forward, directed a powerful attack forward, creating an explosion. The next second, the fire dissolved. The monsters looked around in confusion, then one of them noticed the movement and attacked forward again. He cried out in surprise, seeing a mountain of bones collapse. He raised his hand, trying to get out. Meanwhile, the protagonist fell to the ground and thought how tired he was. He got to his feet and said, he hates this place, no shelters, nothing. There are only rangers around, it is inconvenient for him to fight here. And yet he went quite far. He thought that they should appear any minute. The next second, a system window appeared in front of him, which reported that he was bitten by an angler bird. His endurance is reduced by -1, he said, and here they are. The system reported that he was bitten by an angler bird. His agility and vigilance are reduced by -1. He thought that his stats were melting before his eyes, but there was no choice. Only with this, he could get Unwavering. Unwavering is a special ability that increases his defense depending on the damage value. But this only manifests itself if his health is reduced to almost 0. This ability is for tanks who need more health and defense, but for the owner of a weapon enchanted to +19, this is an incredible imbalance. Literally no one can kill him. You can consider that he will find a second wind. Unwavering has only one problem, the way to get it. A system window appeared in front of him, which said the conditions for obtaining the Unwavering skill. He needs to defeat 99 monsters of the same level as him. These opponents must injure him 99 times. He must also survive, maintaining at least 9% of health. The counter of killed enemies is 31 out of 99. He thought that killing 99 monsters is not a problem, but being attacked by them 99 times. For the musketeer class, which is known for its low health, this is like torture. And then the angler bird comes into play. An incorporeal monster whose level he will not be able to find out until he kills it, but players hate these creatures not only for this reason, it is because they permanently steal one random stat. They will deal a fixed amount of damage, as the name suggests. The angler bird will circle above the player, biting him. However, defeating the angler bird can also randomly increase a couple of stats. The only problem is that the monster in front of him fell to the ground. The system reported that he defeated the angler bird. Increased stats, vitality +1, vision 4, strength +6. He thought that these incorporeal creatures are hard to kill. He took the monster in his hand and said, ate half of his stats, but in the end he managed to kill only a few. After some time, the system reported that the conditions for obtaining the Unwavering skill had been met. The enemy kill count was 99 out of 99. Even on the verge of death, his body and spirit endured. He successfully killed 99 monsters of the same level as him, and also survived 99. And since this proves his determination, God granted him an ability that only the chosen ones are granted. He receives the skill Unwavering. The special skill Unwavering. The skill is activated when the health bar falls below 10%, increases his defense by 50% from damage received. Available, 7 days. He said that now there is no need to worry about his survival, but he thought that this skill would be permanent. Wait, what? He looked in surprise at the system window that appeared. It said, the special skill is a gift from God. These gifts can only be received by the chosen ones. However, because he was reborn, he is not given the gifts from his past life. The counter of special skills is 2. He asked in surprise, can he only have 2 special skills? He thought, this damn reincarnation. Then he looked at the system window which said, name, Ted, class musketeer, race, human, title, owner of a 6-pointed star, achievements, frisky snipers, special skills, the first, steadfastness, the second, absent. He thought, in any case, he got what he came for, and he would think about the rest tomorrow. He released the mosquito and said, first, let him heal. He thought, it would be better not to let the mosquito near the players anymore, and the crime index is already off the charts. The next second, the mosquito disappeared. His health indicator sharply decreased. He was surprised. What was happening? Health did not recover, even dropped more. Once more, he released the mosquito again. It flew up, but the next second the monster absorbed it. The protagonist thought, an angler bird just ate his mosquito. Because of this, his health decreased. That's right, the mosquito can't even bite them. It's not incorporeal. They just grabbed his bullet as a delicacy. He irritably said that he wants to play here, and they eat his bullets. Then he frowned and thought, wait, if they were literally eating his bullets, he might as well poison them. After that, he took out the necrotic poison and opened the bottle, summoned a mosquito and thought, what if I do this? He poured the poison on the mosquito that appeared. The bullet flew forward. The next second, the monster fell to the ground and the system reported that he defeated the angler bird. Increase in characteristics, vitality +9, intelligence +4, agility +5. He smiled wickedly and said, the heat is coming. He is grateful to him, demon. His characteristics continued to increase. As night fell, he fired a bullet forward, creating an explosion. He said, control to the head. Open the status window. A system window appeared in front of him, which said level 150, reincarnated once. Profession, musketeer, race, human, title, lord of the 6-pointed star, achievements, fast sniper, special skills, first, steadfastness, second, health 928, strength 56, vitality 98, mana 200, dexterity 228, intelligence 30, vigilance 253. He thought, recovered 99 status points, receiving another 44 additional points on top, and even increased the level. A system window appeared in front of him, which said, mosquito bullet. Type, activated proficiency level 25%. He pointed his finger at the mosquito and thought, his proficiency level also rose, and now the mosquito is also better controlled. And now it is not so easy to swat. The system reported, mosquito bullet, health points 100, damage 1081. He said that it was time to move to the 4th zone, otherwise he still hadn't seen any strange clouds. For now, he will continue to level up to kick the ass of that Chinese guild and CGTV. Then he looked ahead in surprise, paying attention to the moon. He asked, did the moon always look so strange in this location? The next second, the ground under him began to glow. A powerful explosion occurred. The players came forward. One of them shouted, they finally found him. Idiot, this time, he is definitely finished. His comrade added, he has no idea who will beat his ass now. At that moment, a bullet flew into the player's neck. His partner, perplexed, said, what the? The next second, he also froze and fell. MC, hiding behind a tree, thought, if it weren't for the mosquito, he would have already died when they only managed to install the dormant volcano. But the problem is not even that, but the moon eye. Hybrid class skill, musketeer, moon, priest. And the enemy's level is clearly not small, if somewhere around 500. I see. He is in the crosshairs of a strong musketeer. He hasn't fought with players equal to him for a long time. It's time to find out what his current character is capable of. This is the perfect moment. Lone at this moment, pressed to the ground, looked at the bodies of the players and asked why he sent this food with him. After that, he got to his feet and said, not only is it useless, but they all got burned at once. He thought, but what bothers him more is that, despite his 2 shots, he cannot calculate his location. How can you hide the glare of the sight and still hit vital points? The level and skills indicate level 500, maybe even higher. So he is fighting against a ranker, but what is a ranker doing in a beginner's lock? The next second, a bullet flew right next to his head. He managed to dodge and thought, despite all of the above, he is too sure that he will not find him in the night. After that, he looked through the sight and said, we need to arrange a duel of high-ranking musketeers. Then he used a tornado whirlwind. Several bullets at once, curling into a whirlwind, flew forward. The protagonist looked out from behind a tree and thought, enough already. Not only did he reveal himself, but he also decided to kill with such powerful bullets at once. It seems that a tornado whirlwind is a weapon of mass destruction. Powerful, of course, but it eats up too much mana. He completely despaired and decided to shoot without thinking. Then he used 1,000 steps. The next moment, he covered himself with his hand from the rising smoke and thought, does he really just want to destroy the entire forest so that he has nowhere to hide? He's going to finish him off before his mana runs out completely? If so, he should try it. After that, he fired a shot that hit the player's chest. He thought, it worked. Such a high-level guy can't be killed with one shot, but the damage was impressive. At that moment, Lone put his hand on the hole that formed in his armor and said, he destroyed the protective artifact with one precise shot. He thought, this kind of damage, this is not even level 500. How did the guys from SpecPaw bring such a monster on themselves? I myself am curious. After that, he used the ability, the eye on the moon opened again, and he thought now he definitely can't hide anywhere. The only surviving position is in those trees. After that, he took out a scroll and said, the magic book of the outcast. He sent it forward. A whirlwind of energy headed towards the trees. Looking at the unrolled scroll, he asked, well, if it's a ranker musketeer, he definitely knows him. The system reported processing information, name, Ted, level 150, class musketeer, crime index 5600. He cried out in confusion, what, only level 150? He thought, somehow it doesn't match his damage at all. Then he frowned and asked, maybe a cheater? So wait, Ted? His name is Ted? Suddenly his body trembled, and he said, he's had enough. Not only is the cheater playing a musketeer, but he also uses the name of the great Ted. The end of him, idiot. He used a special accumulation skill. In addition to natural recovery, he is able to accumulate excess mana. If he runs out of mana, he can use the one accumulated using this skill. He quickly ran forward and said, it's not even about the mission. He'll finish off any idiot who uses the name. The protagonist at this point, looking through the sight, was surprised. What? What is he doing? The player, moving in a zigzag pattern, was approaching him. He thought, he spent all his mana on an area attack. Now he's running straight at him? Maybe he has a special accumulation skill? Then he said, if he regenerated all his mana, that's a big problem. So mad that he can't find him, that he decided to go head on? He should keep his distance. The next second, several projectiles flew at him. He shouted in surprise, what? Then he grinned and thought, he found him. Lone, continuing to shoot forward, shouted, he has to get out, damn poser. MC, running out from behind a tree, thought, now, field of view. He fired forward, again hitting the player's armor. Lone turned around and asked, is this it? He suddenly started to aim. The protagonist was surprised and thought, what? He suddenly dodged behind a tree and pressed himself against it. Thought, the field of view didn't work? Now he understood what was confusing him so much. He also has 1,000 steps. Did he really copy his fighting style by watching his broadcasts? The player screamed furiously, he will not forgive. An idiot who uses the name of the ideal of the musketeer class. On behalf of the fan club leader Ted, he will destroy him, idiot. With these words, he raised his weapon, concentrating his energy. MC, looking at the moon, thought, is he loading a moonlight bullet? If he uses this, the entire forest will blow up. It won't take long to die like that. Of course, he can activate steadfastness, but it may not save him from such a powerful attack. There is no other way out. I will have to use this choice joke. After that, he threw the sphere forward. Lone said that no matter where he ran, he would not be able to hide from his bullet. He must die. The next second, he fired. Musketeers have always been the most unpopular and terrible class. Accuracy is too important, and a lot of gold is spent on cartridges. There is no auto-aiming. The player must learn to shoot accurately at the target himself. For this, you also need to fork out extra bullets. In addition, this is the weakest class in terms of health. It can be knocked out with one blow forward feet. And he can't change this in any way. Even the hybrid class of the Musketeer Priest does not save the situation. Not only do both of these classes have low survivability, but they also do not complement each other and do not compensate for the disadvantages. The ridicule of other players outweighed his love for his avatar. As a result, he hated the character he began to pump for 5 whole years. At that moment, a system window appeared in front of him, which said, character deletion. Does he want to delete the selected character? It will be saved for 3 days from the moment of deletion, after which it will completely disappear. He should pay attention that all inventory items will also disappear after deletion. He thought that he was about to let go of his hands, but then a miracle happened. Perfect shooting, fast movements, they were on the same level, but he played just perfectly. For all the musketeers, he became a legend, who gave hope. And he was one of them. Watching the streams, he felt it. If he could, then he can too. He did not waste 5 years of his life on this character in vain. He saved him. In the present, Lone looked at the remains of the explosion and thought that it was all over. This is what happens to those who defame the name of a legend. Then his brows furrowed. He looked in bewilderment at the disappearing body of the goblin. He shouted, what the hell? Where did the goblin come from? He thought, impossible. Goblins don't live on the Sauron plains. So that idiot summoned a goblin. Where did he get the summoning? Where could he get such a useless skill? At that moment, a shot flew at him. Looking back, he thought, did he really learn this skill on purpose to use goblins as bait? He has a low level, but a sharp mind and the ability of a ranker. At that moment, the protagonist pushed off the ground and jumped up. He used his field of vision. Lone, watching him through the sight of his gun, thought he can tell for sure he killed a lot of time training and leveling up, and his fighting style completely copies Ted. He must die. The next second, he still fired. The fragments of the protagonist's armor scattered in all directions. He shouted in surprise. What? He thought in surprise. Steadfastness? How can a level 150 player have such a rare skill? He got it. He had seen this many, no millions of times. This pose, the sight, the position of the hands, the very aura around him. He knows it all down to the smallest detail. He can say with confidence that it is him. It is not a pity to die at the hands of a legend. After some time, a system window appeared in front of the protagonist, which said that his level had increased. The current level was 152. He looked at the disappearing opponent in surprise and thought, this guy? Is he a fan of his? So that's why he immediately saw through the field of view he invented. He hopes that he did not realize that he was fighting him, right? After that, he fell to the ground and sighing, said, thanks to him, he raised 2 levels at once, so screw it. He would never have thought to use this damn Baron's sphere. Then the system reported, skill sphere used, summon a goblin of rank D. He said that he saved it for a reason. He felt that it would come in handy in the end. Okay, he'll continue doing Raiden's quest and leveling up tomorrow. He's tired of today. After that, he logged out. Meanwhile, Carice was indignantly shouting, what? He lost. Lone only apologized in response. But even he, a level 550 player, couldn't do anything. However, he's sure that he doesn't care about the county, fortunately. Unless he was hired by some NPC, and that's unlikely. Carice put his hand to his head and thought, did a level 550 ranker lose? While he's dead, he can hardly count on a rematch. After that, he said that this is terrible news, but he thinks that his help in the siege of the county will help compensate for the money he invested in it. He replied that as soon as he respawns, he'll help right away. After that, he entered the office and said, here he is. Mila, looking at the computer screen, noticed that he was late. Yuri looked at her and asked, so how was it? Did he complete the order from Spetstep? He's lucky, at least they don't treat him like something bad because he's at gunpoint. Then he said that he lost. The girls looked at him in surprise, and he smiled and added, and apparently, to work off the money for the order, he'll have to participate in the siege. Mila grabbed him by the clothes and was indignant. How could he lose to a noob from the beginner's location? Not only did Ted disappear, but he also decided to defame the musketeers. Yuri covered her mouth with her hands and said, he was the most talented of them. How could he lose? He raised his index finger with a smile and told them not to worry, but he had a new trick. They all need to buy a goblin summoning skill sphere. Mila was indignant. What goblin? Has he completely lost his mind? At that moment, Yuri turned to Jordan and asked if the disappearance had affected his skill that way. He asked if they would have to change the leader. Then Mila folded her arms across her chest and asked why he was so happy if he had lost. He spread his arms wide and asked why. Because he had witnessed the rebirth of a miracle. After a while, MC waved his hand in front of his face, driving away the rising smoke. He said, did a favor, fan, blew the whole forest to hell, now monsters won't spawn. Oh well, he leveled up normally. He can afford to go further, to the 4th zone. Peeking out from behind the rocks, he said, well, what do we have here? After that, he called for a status. A system window appeared in front of him which said, additional status, sharpness. He is able to perceive objects more accurately. The status increases his visual acuity. The current area exploration percentage is 54. He said that vigilance is a useful thing after all. No matter how you look at it, there's something else behind their activity. What are they planning? The area exploration percentage has reached 100%. The exploration has been completed. The main character, opening his eyes in surprise, shouted, stop. The system reported that he had found a trace of the Lord of Decay. He thought that Specpa was simply going to seize the county by force, but they were seriously planning to summon the boss here? This would not be a simple siege. They were planning to put Sauron County under their control with the help of the boss, and it seemed that they were determined. He looked at the system window and, putting his hand to his chest, said that he had completed the task and it would be too much trouble to get involved any further. Walking forward, he thought, although he could not shake the feeling that there were more than just Specpa behind all this, the story was much more complicated. And if that was the case, he needed to become even stronger. After some time, fiery dragonflies were flying in front of him. He was at the location of the Spirit Temple. The recommended level is 180 and above. He shot at the insect, hitting it, and then smiling, said, he finally found them. A flock of fiery dragonflies. Well, will they start? After that, he used the goblin summon. 3 goblins appeared from the magic symbol formed on the ground. He awkwardly scratched the back of his head and thought that so far he only had the summoning of these dummies from new skills. He had to figure out how to use them. At first, he wanted to get another skill sphere, and only then go to mid-level locations, where both the opponents are fatter and the rewards are more solid. But he checked the marketplace, and there were simply no decent skill spheres there. He was unlucky even in this. If he had at least one useful sphere, he would become much stronger. Then one of the goblins took him by the cloak and looked at him pitifully. MC said, but you have to be able to enjoy the little things. He thought that now they are not even up to level 30. He's not even talking about their combat power, but maybe it is possible to pump up their speed? Then he will be able to use them as bait. After that, he said, attention everyone. Do they see a firebug? They must attract the attention of this one and run away, and he will shoot. The goblins trembled with fear. Looking at him, they began to cry and shake their heads negatively. The protagonist asked, so what are they crying about? He will finish them off with one shot. Okay, they must put this on. After that, he gave them chainmail and shields. He raised his index finger and shouted, stop shaking, green. Get to work quickly. After that, the goblins ran forward. The protagonist, having prepared his weapons, thought, did they understand the order? Well, he will have to trust if he wants to find a use for them. Then he looked in surprise at the approaching flock of dragonflies and indignantly shouted, "Hey them! Where are they going?" He fired a powerful shot, and after a while the goblins desperately lowered their heads. He sat opposite them and said, he clearly expressed his request. Why the hell are they not listening? Are they laughing at him? They shook their heads negatively, and the protagonist, putting his hand to his head, said, God, he thought, they don't listen to orders, they are incapable of coming up with a strategy, but what good are they? After that, he looked up at the sky in surprise and said, The system reported that there was a level 190 astral dragonfly there. The goblins began to run away in fear. MC hit the target with one shot. After that, he said, It's just a winged insect, as they say, it wouldn't hurt a fly. Do they really think that he can't swat one bug? The system reported that his level had been increased, current level 155. Lord of the Six-Pointed Star, skill sphere increase. The D-rank goblin summoning skill level has reached 100%. The goblin summoning skill is evolving from D rank to C rank. He was surprised. What? So soon? What's wrong with that? Oh right, goblins level up by hunting monsters. He killed a high-level monster while their summoning was active, so they also gained experience. He thought, what will they evolve into? Orcs? Ogres? He would even agree to a goblin mage. At least they would be of some use. After that, the goblins shone brightly, and the next second, they changed their skin color. The system informed him that he could summon silver goblins, rank C, active skill type, uses 50 mana, cooldown is 1 hour, he can summon 3 goblins at a time. Duration is 30 minutes, goblin's special skill is imitation, you can increase goblins' levels by hunting. He thought, silver goblins? What the hell? Just change the color, and that's it. He was upset, it looks like he wasted his time. Then he looked at the system window in surprise and shouted, It's this! The system window said, Goblin's special skill is imitation. Silver goblins are able to synchronize their consciousness with the summoner and learn everything he knows. As the goblins level up, his mastery level will also increase, and his behavior can change depending on the knowledge he has acquired. His synchronization will increase by 2% for each level up. Synchronization level, 10%. Mastery level, 10%. He was surprised. They can now do the same as him? As much as 10%. His dears, they should come to him. He will give them something. After some time, he gave the goblins weapons. They went to hunt golems. The silver goblin fired a shot, leaving a gaping hole in the monster's body. The protagonist asked, How are they? His current damage is 13,020, so the goblin will have 10%, 1,302 damage. Darlings, from now on they will be firing a gun at all the monsters that breathe. He directed his goblins and commanded, Fire! Great, now at that one. The goblins happily fired at the targets, and then MC said, Hey, stand still. They turned sharply, pressing their weapons to themselves. He said, until he gives the command to fire, they will not shoot, everyone understands. He thought, they still have a lot to learn, but this is fine too. He looked at the disappearing body of the mad thunderbear and thought, they cut down the boss of the level 200 location. The system reported that his level was increased, current level is 200. He has never died in 200 character levels. Now he is known for his excellent survival skills on the harsh battlefields of the Fateful Chronicles. The achievement of Survival Expert has been obtained. The achievement of Survival Expert is a plus 5% bonus to health, plus the skill Chew and Live. Chew and Live is a passive type of skill. Eating any plant restores his health and dulls the feeling of hunger. He thought the mastery of the summoning skill has increased to 30%, and synchronization to 16%, which means that their damage is now even higher than that of level 350 players. While he was training goblins, he also received a new skill. The system window said empathy is a passive type of skill. He is able to share his emotions with summoned creatures and also feel their emotions in response. He thought initially only the summoner class had this skill, and now his little soldiers are capable of at least some teamwork. His personal army. Then he clapped his hands and said, So, at ease, it's time for them to go. He looked around and asked in surprise, Where is the other one? The system reported that goblin number 3 was scared. Goblin number 3 was attacked. He shouted, What the hell? Where did he go? One of the goblins pointed his finger to the side. The protagonist quickly ran there and thought, Damn, he should have called them off right away. Of course, he won't disappear forever, but if he dies, he can't be reborn for an hour. He's there. The protagonist made his way through the foliage and saw his goblin lying on the ground. There were players next to him. Elsa, pointing her finger at him, asked, Hey, who is this anyway? Victor answered, Yes, it's a goblin. The lowest mob possible. With these words, he stepped on the goblin's head with his boot. He screamed hysterically. Victor, seeing the main character, asked, What's wrong with him? A bear's head? He replied indignantly, He should remove his stinking foot. This is his summon. They know perfectly well that there are no goblins in this location. He does not believe that he attacked them himself. Then he looked at the insignificant amount of HP of his goblin and thought, well, everything is fine. He still has 5% of health left. If they leave now, he can heal him. After that, the player used a fireball. He asked, Are they deaf? He told them that this is his summon. Victor, grinning, apologized and said that he didn't hear. Since it was his summon, he should take care of its upbringing. MC shouted irritably, These idiots. At that moment, another goblin grabbed him by the cloak, and the system reported that goblin number 1 and goblin number 2 were currently feeling angry because of the murder of their fellow. Under the influence of strong emotions, the synchronization level increased. The bonus is plus 10% to the synchronization indicator. He looked at the goblins ready to attack and said, "They." At that moment, Victor said, "Head, do his useless mobs understand anything?" Something is grinning at him. Have they completely lost their fear? James said, "Even stupid goblins should know their place." The protagonist replied, "Yeah, they are generally obedient to him. They should be rewarded for this." Victor grinned. "Is he a fool? He says they don't listen to him. What other reward?" MC at that moment spread his arms to the sides and said his kids still have a lot to learn, but so be it. Today he will spoil them. With these words, the goblins pointed their guns at the players. Elsa was surprised. "What? Do they have guns?" Victor, perplexed, said, "What for?" The next second, the protagonist commanded, "Fire." The goblins killed Victor with one accurate shot. Elsa, putting her hands to her face, shouted, "What was that?" James shouted, "What the hell? Why them?" The next second, the bullets were flying at them. James activated the block with his shield with sharp movements. Elsa screamed, "Is he a cheater?" The system reported, "Player kill, crime index 6. After some time, the goblins finished off the players. The protagonist, putting his hand on the shoulder of one of them, said, "Guys, that's enough. An hour has passed. Their brother is already here." He happily ran to his comrades, they hugged, and the protagonist, putting his hand to his face, said, "Because of this, the crime index rose again." Yes, but he could not do otherwise. Then he snapped his fingers and said, "Exactly. They worked so hard, they should be given names." Pointing to the first goblin, he said that he would be Ilkeek. Pointing to the second, he said that he was Duckeek. Well, as for the third, he would call him Samkeek. He thought what kind of pleasant emotions were floating between them. Meanwhile, Carice slammed his fist on the table in irritation and shouted, "What is this idiot trying to achieve? Why did he show up now?" He put his hand to his sweaty face and thought. Since Lone couldn't defeat him, his level is higher than 650. At worst, even 700. He sold both his house and car, all for their plan. And everything will fail, Then he received a call. Answering the call, he asked, "What?" The player said, "Hey, he's talking to the guild leader of the Paprika Special Offensive Team right now." He replied that it was so what? He said that he heard that he was having some difficulties with the execution of the plan. They could help them. Sometime later, at the Kingdom of Haran, Sauron County. Kyohei looked at the guards through the spyglass and said that he will not be able to pass. He went overboard with killing players. The system notified that his crime index was 6,100 points. 100 crime points is equal to 1 day in prison. So he will have to spend 61 days in prison. Time is too valuable to waste it like this. He turned around when he noticed a shadow and said that he was just in time. He saw a seagull that landed next to him and said that yesterday he bought one piece at the marketplace. They are in no hurry with the delivery. He should give it to him. The bird made a loud sound and grabbed his mask. It stretched out its wing with a displeased look and made a loud sound, and he asked with a confused look, "Why fight right away? He will definitely pay for the delivery." He gave a few gold coins and the bird handed him a scroll. He took it with a displeased look and thought that this bird, like the players, are evil freaks. He needs to try this product. He went to the guards. One of them pointed a spear at him with a worried look, ordered him to stop, and loudly asked what was wrong with him. The second guard asked, "Is there something wrong with him?" He saw his crime index and loudly said that he is a cold-blooded killer. The protagonist looked at them with a worried look and asked, "Are they talking about him?" The guard asked loudly, "How is he like this? How does the earth even carry him?" Suddenly, interference appeared in front of his eyes and he asked, "But he can pass, right?" The guard put away the spear and told the traveler that he can pass. He entered the city, and the second guard asked what happened to him. He said that he himself did not know. He probably just made a mistake. He walked away from them, took out a scroll, and said that he had not wasted his money. It was a great investment. The system notified that it was a scroll of identity concealment. It could conceal his personal information for 24 hours, with 49 uses remaining. He thought that, however, there were cases when it had not worked against NPCs and the players had been taken to prison. He would have been incredibly angry if luck had not been on his side this time. He went further and said that it was time for him to hand in the quest. After some time, Raiden asked with a surprised expression, had he already explored all 4 zones? He laughed, patted him on the back and said that he had never doubted him. It was not for nothing that he was the master's favorite student. He should go inside faster. They entered the office and he said that, so that was what that dark cloud was. MC thought with a serious expression that he would not ignore it anyway. The level 450 boss would appear right in the middle of the newbie location, but it no longer concerned him. The system notified that the quest was completed. Raiden's alarms. Quest rank E. Explore all 4 zones on the plains of Sauron and find the cause of the strange cloud. Conditions met, reward a letter of recommendation to the Thieves Guild. He handed him the letter and said that he had helped him out a lot, as they had agreed. Here was his letter. He asked where he should go with this now. He looked at it and asked if he knew anything about thieves. He looked at the letter with a slightly sad look and said that of course he knew. They had an unenviable fate. They live in the slums or even hide from law enforcement in the sewers. Raiden agreed and asked, so he wondered why such a talented musketeer needed a criminal class. He put the letter in his inside pocket with a smile and said that it had to be that way. He thought that by choosing such a class, he was doomed to be labeled a criminal. Thieves lose a lot of experience when they die, and they are also very likely to drop an item of equipment. Of course, their faces often appear on the bulletin board, so players can easily come for such people. However, he only named the downsides, but there are also very big advantages. After receiving the class, no one else can see his crime index. He can also gain experience by committing crimes. Among all the possible subclasses, the thief is optimal for him. The ability to open locks, set traps and bait, maneuverability. Although the class is terribly unpopular, but in his position, it is the best choice possible. He sighed thoughtfully and asked, so where should he go? Raiden said that he should go to the Panpon liquor store. You need to go to the alley behind the store, there will be a passage underground. Kyohei said that their lair was closer than he thought. In that case, can he get the second stage of the musketeer class? He was very surprised by what he heard and asked, has he already reached level 200? He can, but isn't he tired after the journey? He said that for now he would like to know the conditions for moving on to the second stage. He thought that there were stages in each class. He will take first degree in the musketeer class. The system announced that Shiboli Academy, the exam to receive the second stage, the musketeer class. He thought that in order to receive the second stage, he must literally live on the territory of the academy and train. It is necessary to spend 12 hours a day at the academy and do so for 30 days. Raiden said that he thought he already knew this. The system announced that new skills were available, a passive critical shot and an activated double jump. Critical shot increases the critical damage dealt by a musket. Critical damage increases by 2% for every 1% of mastery. Mastery is 9% plus 50% to the current critical damage. Double jump rank C, cooldown is 20 seconds, costs 5 mana points. Thanks to this skill, he is able to make a second jump in the air. For every 1% increase in mastery, the jump height increases by 2 centimeters. Mastery is 0%, the current jump height is 1 meter. Raiden said that it was time to begin the first day of testing. He must hit the target set at a distance of 50 meters. He did not have time to finish because the main character hit the target, and he said that this was expected. He could at least listen to the end for the sake of decency. He turned to him and asked, since the test was passed, he can go to the city on business? He allowed him and said that he was only not allowed to go outside the county. If he left this area, he would have to take the test again. Did he understand everything? He started to leave, agreed and said that he would go shopping, and that's it. After that, he came to the shopping district. He began to look around and thought that it should be somewhere here. The location was unlikely to have been changed. He noticed a plant in the clearing and thought that this is it. He pulled it, opened the hatch, and the system notified that a sudden event. He entered the underground trading quarter of the county of Sauron. He thought that in the game Fateful Chronicles there are two types of trading platforms. The first of this category is the main platform, purchase and sale transactions between NPC and players. Of course, there are restrictions on the sale of all kinds of junk and dangerous substances, but these are all details. The second type is the black market. Here you can sell anything and as much as you want. There are no restrictions. When you get to this place, the crime index will begin to steadily increase, and they can even arrest you on the way out. However, the risk is worth it, because here you can find things that ordinary NPC do not have. The system notified that he was entering a dangerous zone. If the guards find him, his crime index will increase and he can be arrested. He waved his hand and said that he already knows about it. It should be somewhere near the entrance. He saw a box by the door and said that there are things that do not change. He took out the bodies of angler birds and said that this was their way out. He thought that among NPCs, these were infamous monsters. Sometimes these birds would drift into the county, where the local soldiers could not kill them. As a result, there was a decrease in military power due to the debuffs of the monsters. In order to somehow save the soldiers, the county had set a bounty on the bodies of these monsters. The reward for each killed monster was Sauron coins, which could be exchanged for either of the two playgrounds. He asked if one body was worth 1 coin, so he would get 11 in total. He took the money with a smile, took the coins that fell from the box, and said that he had earned quite a lot. He thought that all that was left was to find a suitable skill sphere. Thanks to the power of the 6-pointed star, even this weak skill, summoning goblins, had become very strong. What would happen when he got a stronger sphere? MC opened the door, and the system announced that he had entered the underground shopping district of Sauron County, the black market. He saw various people and said that shopping was starting. He approached the counter with various goods, and the system announced that the copy scroll could create copies of any manuscripts except spell scrolls. He read it and thought that it was a pretty thing. He noticed the incendiary rounds that deal double damage and thought that he really needed it. The system announced that the inventory expansion necklace added slots to his inventory. He started shaking his head and thought that he should stop looking at everything. He snuck in here despite the risk of being caught for one purpose. Today he must buy a skill sphere. He approached the merchant and asked if he had any skill spheres. He said that a few days ago some travelers came to them and bought everything. The other travelers tried to stop them, but they killed all the dissenters. He doesn't remember what exactly they called themselves. It started with Pa. Kyohei thought, with a very displeased expression on his face, that they were the Paprika group. Can they really reach everywhere with their hands? They are trying their best to weaken the county. These freaks are incredibly annoying. The seller pointed to the side and said that they only had one sphere left. He looked at the sphere next to him, and with a surprised expression on his face, thought that it was a lightning charge. The system notified that the skill sphere was D-rank lightning charge, an activated skill. It costs 400 mana, has a cooldown of 10 minutes, and allows you to shoot lightning charge projectiles. He thought that it seemed to be an area of effect skill. With this, you can destroy an entire group of enemies with one bullet. He had to get this sphere. He asked loudly how much it cost. The seller was reading a newspaper and asked if he could read price tags. It cost 40 coins. He was very surprised by this and asked loudly, why is it so expensive? He understands that this is the black market, but this is too much. The seller calmly said that if he has any complaints, he should contact the store owner. He is just a seller and did not come up with these prices. The seller, whom he approached earlier, asked with a smile, how does he think? Why did not those travelers buy this sphere? No one will buy it for such a price in life. The main character with a displeased look said that he already thought that luck smiled on him. A man approached the seller of the sphere and asked this idiot, how are things with sales? He said with a frightened look that the client was interested in the sphere but refused. This made him very angry and he loudly asked, what does this mean? His task is to sell this sphere. He looked at this from the side and thought that it seemed to be the owner of the shop. The man turned to him and asked, so he is the buyer. What does he want to buy? He said that he wanted the sphere of the lightning charge skill. He extended his hand towards him with a wide smile and said that it was a great choice. It would only cost him 40 coins. He said with a confused look that he should understand that a skill sphere for such a price was too much. Doesn't he think so? He can buy several spheres for that kind of money. The man showed him the middle finger with a displeased look and asked that beggars like him were not welcome in his shop. Did he understand? If he understood that, he should leave and not interfere with his people's work. MC looked at him and wondered why the skill sphere had such an inadequate owner. If there were no spheres here, he wouldn't even come here. He needed to be patient. It was not too early. Maybe more goods would appear when people came? However, such a skill would be very useful. It didn't seem like he could get at least some kind of discount from this freak. What should he do in such a situation? The system notified that the Paprika Special Offensive Guild was preparing to lay siege to Sauron County. It will start in 30 days. The event start time is May 16th, and it is recommended that players who are not interested in the event leave the location. He read this and thought, are they planning a siege to gain control of the county? However, those players who cannot leave the location will be forced to participate in the siege. The people around him said that he certainly heard that they were planning something. However, this is crazy, isn't it? Kyohei said with a worried look that, in order to receive the second stage, he still needs to take the exams of the Musketeer Academy for 30 more days, and the siege will start in exactly 30 days. He realized that he was forced to participate in the siege and thought that his leveling plan had simply cracked in seconds. However, this is not the worst thing. The siege is a large-scale event that will be covered by all game channels and media. If he, Ted, the character who was supposed to be removed, appears in the media. Right after that, he ran down the street very fast and thought, why is this happening to him? Why is the ambush going to start in exactly 30 days? What are these idiots even thinking? If he stays in the city, he won't be able to get out of there until the siege is over. The siege will last about a month at best, and up to 6 months at worst. Sitting here for so long will make him go completely crazy. In the current situation, it would be more logical to refuse the second stage. The siege will start in exactly 30 days, right? He only has 1 day to escape from here. Then he manages to get the second stage and escape. Suddenly, something broke the high fence in front of him with terrifying force. He thought with a displeased look, what happened this time? The guy said loudly with a displeased look that he knew that he could do this all day long. He promised to pay him everything last week. Renaro, whom he threatened, asked to give him a little more time. He slapped him hard in the face and said loudly that he always says the same thing, but the debt keeps growing. He said the same thing to that one-eyed idiot. They have to pay or leave. They have no other choice. He shoved the protagonist with his shoulder, loudly called him an idiot and asked why he was standing there. He ignored it and loudly called his name and asked how he felt. Why did he beat him up, and who the hell was he? He held his face after the punch and asked Mr. Ted, is he back already? He came at the wrong time, like always. He's leaving. If he wants to know the details, it's better to ask the master. He turned around abruptly and loudly called Raiden. He entered the office, he looked at him and asked, is he back already? He asked with a displeased look, what's going on here, and who is that freak? He said with a sad look that his name is God Juntai, the owner of Shiboli Academy. MC looked at him with a serious expression and asked, did he just call him the owner? He agreed and said that he was an idiot who had been buying property in Sauron County for several years in a row. Not only was he rude, but he also constantly overcharged for rent and charged fines. He tried to save the academy in every possible way until the Baron returned, but unfortunately, this could not continue. This bastard took the academy's treasure as collateral. He felt awkward saying this, but he would have to get a second degree at another musketeer academy. He was very surprised by what he heard and wondered if they would transfer him to another academy. He would have to start training all over again, but then he would finish training in another 30 days. This bastard's level must be low. Maybe I should just kill him, and then it would all be over? While he was taking the exam, killing a player on city territory was unacceptable. The guards would solve such a case with a 100% probability. After he was sent to prison, he would be mobilized in any case to participate in the siege. It seemed that in the day left for him, he would be able to at least somehow leave these lands. However, all the circumstances were literally against him. What should he do now? Wait, the way he hit Renaro on the head, he had seen this address somewhere before. He remembered the owner of the skills sphere, who did the same thing and said with a wide smile that he understood everything. He called out his name and said that he should let him solve this problem. The system announced that a new quest was available, the Shibboleth Crisis, quest rank A. Unfortunately, the Musketeer Academy was facing financial difficulties and an unbearable rent increase. Raiden, who was about to close the academy, was filled with hope after hearing his words. He must resolve the financial difficulties of the Shibboleth Academy and prevent the Musketeer Academy from closing. After some time, Kyohei came to the Panpon wine shop and said that here it is. He went into the building located in the alley and said, "There will be a secret passage underground. This must be a thieves' guild. It's dark and damp here, just like them." He walked on, embarrassed because there was no one here, but suddenly someone asked, did he not like the local atmosphere? He jumped back sharply and aimed at the voice. The man waved his knife and said that despite his stupid clothes, he was quite perceptive. Tisai, the great thief of thunderclouds, looked at him with a smile and said that it was still somehow impolite to break into someone else's house and point a gun at the inhabitants. The protagonist looked at him with a surprised expression and thought that he was invisible. Without his keen eye, he would not have even sensed his presence. The Great Thief is the third stage of the class. He is a high-level NPC, but his level is even higher than Raiden. He lowered his weapon, apologized, and said that he was from the master of the Shibboleth Academy. He gave him a letter of recommendation to their guild. He looked at him and said that he remembered him. He seemed to have studied there during the time when he was still a master. Baron's disciple became a criminal. The world never ceases to amaze him. He wondered, did the scroll of concealment of identity not work on him? It seems that he has the skill perception. Although he is a thief, but he also has a subclass. Tisai said with a smile that it was not uncommon for adventurers to be criminals, but they usually didn't accept just anyone. What caught his attention was that he said they, and immediately after that, the people in the room stopped using invisibility. He chuckled and said that he was pretty smart, but brains alone weren't enough to survive in their profession. MC looked at him with a serious expression and asked what was so funny about that. He held the potion he came with a wide smile and asked, so he didn't notice anything? He was very surprised when he noticed it, and he called him a traveler and said that he would give him one piece of advice. People who hide their crime index so carefully are too easy to rob, although no advice would help such a strange person. He will take this potion from you as payment for valuable advice. He apologizes, but it would be better for him to leave. He definitely won't teach an idiot who didn't even notice how something was stolen from his hands. He picked up the potion and loudly told his friends that they should drink to the easiest theft in history. As soon as they drank the potion, the system notified that the paralysis effect was applied. Their stats were temporarily lowered. He pointed his knife at him with a very angry expression and asked loudly, did he know all along that they stole the poison from him? He came to receive a class, but in the end, he dares to act like this. He didn't have time to finish because Kyohei said that it was not for him to say this. They stole the potion from him and felt like the rulers of the world? He summoned goblins and told his soldiers with a smile that they should attack. They killed everyone around, and Shisai said that this couldn't be. How can a guy who hasn't even mastered the second stage of the class be so strong? He stood in front of him and said that since he understood everything, he should give him a class. He spat blood and said that he was definitely a difficult person. He was wrong about him. The system announced that he was getting a second class, a thief. He received 3 new skills thanks to training from a great thief. The activated skills of the thief class, stealth, sneak, and hack. He thought that this was great. It was time to try out the new skills in practice. He came closer and used the steal skill. The system announced that it was an activated skill. The cooldown was 10 seconds, the cost was 10 mana. He can steal from anyone in front of him. For every 1% of proficiency, the steal rate increases by 2 points. The system announced that the steal was unsuccessful. He was confused because of this, and Tisai said that he was really not that smart if he thought this would work. He should study while he was alive. Before stealing something, he should enter stealth. Without it, any idiot would notice that he was trying to steal something. The The system notified that this is an activated skill. The cooldown is 30 minutes, the cost is 100 mana points. The ability has 3 levels. Stealth decreases during an attack, using potions or activating other skills. For every 10% of mastery, the duration of stealth increases by 1 minute. The mastery level is 10%, the current duration of stealth is 5 minutes. He said that the theft was successful or not depends on the number of crowns. Failure is 1 crown. Not only did he not steal anything, but the enemy also discovered him. 2 crowns he managed to successfully steal, but as in the first case, the person will find out that he was stealing from him. 3 crowns are a complete success. He will receive the items and the target will not notice him. For each theft committed, he is given double the amount of experience. All this, of course, is conditional. After all, his level, the level of the target, theft mastery, and the item of theft itself also affect success. The stealth skill, the psychological state of the target, and the environment around are also important. The protagonist got really angry at what he heard and thought that these subtleties alone were giving him a headache. Before stealing something, you need to go invisible. Right? He used these 2 skills in the correct sequence, and the system notified that the probability of successfully stealing 27 copper coins was 52%. The probability of successfully stealing an apple seed was 75%. The probability of successfully stealing an unfinished love letter was 82%. He looked at this with a displeased expression on his face and thought that he seemed to be a 3rd-level thief. But he had very little money. Or is this all he can steal? He will steal what has a higher chance of success. He got 2 crowns, and the system notified that he got an unfinished love letter. If the theft was successful, experience and skill percentage were gained. He started scratching his head and asked, "So that's how it all happens? By the way, what kind of love letter is this?" He started reading it out loud, and Tisai got angry because of it and started to feel embarrassed and asked loudly, who gave him the right to read it? He should give it back immediately. MC looked at him with a wide smile and asked if that was the case. Then maybe he could help his student who had just recently stepped onto the path of thievery. He extended his hand with a smile and asked if he was joking right now. He wouldn't help him after all. He had poisoned him and killed his subordinates. He should get his class and leave here. He couldn't expect more. He started reading his letter out loud again, which made him loudly ask him to shut up and said that he understood him. What exactly did he need? He looked at him with a sly grin and said that he should have agreed right away. He should tell him how to improve his stealing skill faster. After a while, he looked out from around the corner with a serious look and thought that he knew it. He treats absolutely everyone like that. Ton demands exorbitant rent, and if they don't have the funds, he kicks them out and takes all the property for himself. He bribes the guards to leave him alone. He's a real bastard, but he's quite cautious. Did he just take the identity concealment scroll? He wasn't wrong. This guy is the same bastard from the black market. The valuables he takes to pay off the tenant's debts can be considered stolen. Of course, they can't be sold in the shopping district, which is why he opened his own underground store. There must be a loophole in his strategy. He noticed that he took the book, and the system notified him that it was Juntei's accounting book. Kyohei looked at this with a tense expression and wondered if he couldn't trust the management of the store even to the NPCs he hired himself. Although, this was his chance. Having this book would put him in a difficult position. Sometime later, when there were 5 days left until the siege, he stood at the black market and thought with a smile that the day of the decisive battle had come. Thanks to Tisai, he got what he wanted. The system announced that the mastery of the stealing skill was 50%. The current number of stealing points was 150. He noticed Juntei walking nearby and told the seller that he should sell it to him. He looked at him and said that he could not sell it at such a price. He said that he should be grateful that he was willing to pay at least a coin. The seller refused and said that it was too little. Juntei approached his seller and said that he had fixed the sales for today. If he did not try to bring him more money, he would be fired. The protagonist used the stealth skill and thought that it was now or never. If he failed, his crime index would increase to incredible values. He used the steal skill and the system notified that 6 silver and 47 copper coins, a Kushir large shield, a superior mana potion, and a magic gold ring. The steal rate was 100%. He thought that it was great that the steal success rate was high. Because of the identity concealment scroll, the steal success rate was increased tenfold, which was why Tisai was able to steal the poison from his hands so easily last time. However, he seemed to know about it. He was standing next to him and the system notified that the ledger, the steal rate was 10%. He thought that it was easier to steal an item when it was in the inventory. The success rate would immediately increase tenfold. He used his skill and successfully stole the book. He was very happy about it and thought that he was even given double experience and mastery points for successfully stealing it. He used the skill again and stole his ID card. MC looked at the stolen item and thought that the cooldown for stealing was 10 seconds. His invisibility time was currently 6 minutes and 20 seconds. Maybe he should steal something else while he still had time? He was very surprised when he noticed that he could steal Sauron coins with a 100% chance. He was shocked by what he saw and wondered if he could even steal that. Right now, he was invisible in the black market, surrounded by merchants. If he stole all of this, he would be able to buy a lightning bolt. After a while, the system notified that he had increased his level to 206. 32 Sauron coins were available. He thought that he had stolen 40 times, but had only managed to find 32 coins. It was not always possible to steal this. Juntae knocked on his shopkeeper's head and said loudly that he had to earn more money. Kyohei watched from the side and thought that 8 more coins and he would be able to buy a skill sphere. However, the invisibility would soon end, so he had to quickly steal the coins and escape. He used his skill, and the system announced that the Thunder Art skill book, the stealing success rate was 75%. The Ruby Medallion, the stealing success rate was 95%. Money, 30 gold coins, the stealing success rate was 82%. 8 Sauron coins, the stealing success rate was 50%. He was happy when he saw this and thought that 50% was too risky. What should he do? His original plan was to steal the book and the ID card, thereby blackmailing him, so he would have forced him to leave the academy alone. But now, will he ever have such an opportunity again? This is his only chance to get the lightning bolt sphere. However, if he is caught red-handed, he will be locked up and can forget about getting the second stage. He still made up his mind, used his skill, got 2 crowns, and the system notified that the theft was successful. He gets experience points and a percentage of proficiency. Juntae began to look around and loudly asked, where did he go? He must go out immediately. The system notified that Thief's Stealth, the skill has expired, now he is visible again. Immediately after that, they saw each other. He said with a very angry expression that he was wondering where that thief went. He decided to steal from others, right? The protagonist, with a worried look, thought that he was too greedy. He needs to escape somehow. He began to use the fetter skill and said that he cannot even think about escaping. The system announced that the Guardian class cuts the stats of the fettered criminals in half. He swung the energy rope and said loudly that he would show him what happens to those who try to steal from him. He used the 1000-step skill, dodged his attack, and wondered if he was also one of the Guardians. The system announced that powerful, it was a passive skill. When fighting criminals, all stats are increased by 40%. He thought that not only was he related to the Guardians, but he also had a useful passive skill. This is the worst opponent for any criminal class. He used the double jump skill to escape and thought that he couldn't handle it. He ran out of the black market, but Juntae kept chasing him and loudly ordered him to stop. He tried unsuccessfully to hit him with the shackle skill and thought he was the same level, so why was he faster? No criminal had ever been able to escape from him. He has to catch this amateur thief. He ran out from around the corner and said loudly that now he has nowhere to run. He cornered himself. He caught him with a rope of energy by the leg and activated the shackle skill. He chuckled and said that he was even disappointed. He stole so many useful things but got caught with coins. It was immediately obvious that he was an ordinary rookie. MC smiled because of this and asked, did he just call him a rookie? Juntae chuckled and asked what else could he be called? No matter how many idiots he caught, they still didn't learn anything. He took out his gun and said that he was wrong about that. He did everything correctly. It would be problematic to shoot him right in the middle of the street, don't you think? He kept smiling and asked what he was even saying. He was about to say something, but at that moment, he got shot in the stomach. He looked at his health points after that attack and thought, did he just take off half of his health bar with one shot? He fired another shot at the magic bonds and broke free. After that, he used the stealth skill and said that he was the only newbie here. Juntae started looking around with a displeased look and asked, did that freak use invisibility again? Does he seriously think that he will let him go so easily? He blew the whistle and the system notified that the detention skill forcibly cancels the skills of all criminals within a radius of 10 meters. Because of this, Kyohei's invisibility ended and he thought, does that mean he decided to use detention? His level is at least 400, it seems he should have this skill too. At the same time, he used the A-rank skill, Iron Guards. The system notified that this is a unique skill of the Guardian class, capable of summoning 12 controlled guards of at least level 300. He looked at this and thought that he did summon them after all. It would be easier to just kill him, but as soon as he does that, a criminal alarm is activated. The system notified that after killing a player with the guard class, the location and all information about the killer will be transmitted to the nearest guard. Juntae pointed his finger at him and said loudly that he would not be able to escape this time. He ordered the guards to protect him and catch the criminal. The protagonist summoned silver goblins and said that this was his rifle battalion. He pointed at him and asked, they see that idiot in the mask, right? He allows shooting at armored freaks, but they can't touch him. He allowed them to shoot and they began to attack those guards together. Juntae couldn't believe what was happening and asked with a shocked look, why were the goblins so strong? He thought that if this continued, he would lose. He used the general offensive skill and the system notified that this was a skill that made the dull guards go on the attack. He thought that it didn't matter anymore whether he lost or won. He just needs to use collect evidence on this guy and then he can get his book back. The system notified that this skill allows you to take all the items stolen by the criminal. However, to do this, he must touch him. MC noticed him and thought that this idiot was deliberately getting closer to him during the attack. This means that he wants to use the collect evidence skill. He used the double jump skill and climbed to the roof of the building. He started chasing after him, and he used the 1,000 step skill and thought that he needs to hit his leg. He will not die from this. He hit his leg, but Juntae still continued to chase him. He was surprised because of this and wondered if he also has the unwavering skill. The system notified that if the player's health drops below 10%, the damage will be converted into defense. He was going to use the 1,000 step skill again, but he got ahead of him and used the collect evidence skill. With this skill, he took back his account book and said with a big smile that it was over. He took back what was rightfully his. He became worried when he noticed that Kyohei was holding the same book in his hand with a big smile and asked if he really thought so. He started reading the book with a worried look and asked loudly what was the meaning of this. He had returned it after all. He looked at him and asked if he seriously thought that he was such an idiot that he hadn't prepared for something like this. He asked with a surprised expression if he had actually used the copy scroll. He agreed and thought back to the past and thought that before carrying out his plan, he had specially bought this scroll in case his luck failed him again. The system announced that the copy scroll could make a copy of any manuscript except for the spell scroll. He said that it didn't take long to make a copy. Juntae asked with a dissatisfied look if he had predicted that he wouldn't be able to take back the copy because he hadn't stolen it. He thought with a very angry expression that even this copy could destroy his business. He raised his head and asked loudly, "He needs money, doesn't he?" The protagonist got angry because of this and asked if he was sure that in such a situation he could talk to him like that. He tapped his head with a book and said that he should be more respectful. He sat down next to him, put his hand on his shoulder, and with a wide smile said that he had no intention of killing him. So did he want to discuss business? Juntae was kneeling in front of him and said that he would do everything, but asked not to tell the guards about him. He stood in front of him and said that first he had to give him everything that was in his inventory. After a while, Raiden looked at the document with a shocked expression and asked if he really agreed so easily. He agreed and said that they would only have to pay the rent without interest. He would not demand more from them. He thought that he even managed to take the lightning strike sphere for free. The system notified that this skill gives the ability to shoot lightning-charged bullets. The period is 3 seconds, but it is better not to use it consecutively for 5 seconds due to the risk of overheating. The damage increases by 0.5% for each mastery level. Mastery is 0%. Current damage is 30%. He thought that the musketeers had very few area attacks and everything was weak. However, with the 6-pointed star, he would be able to strengthen the skill and eventually it would be incredibly strong. Raiden knelt down in front of him, thanked him, and said that he saved Shiboli Academy. He is sincerely grateful for this. To him, he is now like a son. MC patted him on the shoulder and said that, after all, he is an academy graduate. It is no wonder he wants to protect it. He is grateful to him for looking after the academy all these years. The system notified that the Shiboli Academy crisis quest was completed. He managed to solve the financial problems of the academy and save it from being closed. Reward, Achievement Thief of Wealth. Relationship with NPC Raiden reached 100%. Achievement Thief of Wealth, the maximum threshold of mastery for all thief skills is increased by 10%. Mana costs when using thief skills are reduced by 10%. He was very surprised by what he saw and thought that this achievement was too much. It ignores the threshold of skill progression and allows you to reach unimaginable heights in mastering it. Thanks to this, you can get additional effects from the skill. He did not do this for the reward, but the bonus is very nice. Now that he has eliminated all the obstacles, there are only 5 days left. He must sit out in the city, get the second stage, and escape from here. After some time, the system notified that he received a set of the Master Musketeer uniform. All characteristics are increased by 25 points, health points, and mana points by 10%. Defense is 100 points. He thought with a satisfied look that he received not only a stage, but also new things. He looked around and said that, although these clothes do not look very good with a bear's head, although it doesn't matter, the most important thing is the stats. Kyohei thought that with the new sphere and items, the bosses would die very quickly. How many useful items could he get? He was doing very well now, and his goblins were having fun. What could go wrong? He thought with a worried look that it couldn't be that everything was going well for him. He was wrong. He needed to calm down. He hadn't had any serious failures lately. He could overcome anything with this level 19 black and white. The system notified that all the goblins were experiencing happiness. A notification about a change in the siege schedule from Paprika's group. He looked at it with a shocked expression and said that he was the only one who thought that everything was too good. The system notified that the siege was originally planned for May 16th, but now the siege will begin on May 10th. This change will no longer be revised, so players in this location need to take the warning into account. He thought with a displeased look, do they mean to say that the siege will begin in 2 days? Has he really gone through all this for nothing? He started rolling on the floor and asked loudly, why is he going through such trouble? The goblins found it funny and started repeating after him. The protagonist said with a displeased look that they should stop. because he is suffering here. He started crying and thought that he had so hoped to escape, but failed. Raiden came to him and asked what happened to him. He turned to him, called him by name and asked where he came from. He said with a serious expression that he reported to the Count about the strange cloud, the nature of which he revealed. Count Sauron ordered him to destroy it in order to minimize troop losses. The elite will gather. They will quickly cope with possible risks. Doesn't he want to go with them? He asked with a confused look. Is he offering to help deal with the cloud? However, he is currently receiving the second stage. What will happen to his progress? He said with a smile that if he goes with him, the progress will be saved. He alone is worth 100 soldiers, so everything is fine. The system notified that a new quest is available. Fatal Cloud, rank B. In the 4th zone, on the Sauron Plain, there is a cloud that exudes incredible evil energy. So the Count ordered to gather a squad of strong fighters to deal with this threat. It is necessary to destroy the cloud before the siege begins. He agreed to this, and the system notified that the quest was accepted. Raiden put his hand on his shoulder with a wide smile, thanked him, and said that he collected everything he needed. They can leave right now. MC thought that having come this far, he definitely won't stay in this city. He needs to destroy some cloud, right? Then he will definitely beat those freaks who have been interfering with his plans for a long time. He promises to crush everyone from this damned guild. After some time, Lone came to the clearing and said that here they are. This is where he met with Mr. Ted. The healer asked. He said that he saw him in the 4th area, right? Wu Yuri asked with a calm expression, but what if he has already left? Suddenly, a notification about the change in the siege schedule appeared in front of them. She asked with a worried look. Paprika's group moved the siege schedule? They need to leave here, otherwise not only will they not be able to meet him, but they will also be stuck here. She said with a smile that she had an idea. They will just take part in the siege together with Lone. Han said that if the master is at odds with this guild, then they can't. He did not have time to finish because Wu Yuri said that it did not matter. Their goal is to find the missing master. It does not matter whose side they fight on. By joining the enemy, they can quickly find him and then just leave the guild. They, the fans, don't need much. Just seeing their hero is enough. They will do anything for him. After a while, the protagonist entered through the gate. He was surprised and thought that the Count really spent a lot of money. All the fighters here are at least level 500. Even though they are NPCs, they are still not weak. The honored hero of Sauron County, the head of the Warrior Academy, the Storm Knight Hecaton clarified, have the children from Shibori Academy finally arrived? He noted that Raiden had fallen very low, that his strongest student looked like a cartoon character. Ted exhaled in irritation and wondered, is this the head of the Warrior Academy? The Musketeers and Warriors are not on good terms, so this is not surprising. Raiden angrily ordered Hecaton to shut up and exclaimed that this guy saved their academy. Hecaton asked, why is Raiden offended by the truth? Since Old Man Shibble left the academy, it would have deteriorated sooner or later. Raiden raised his weapon and clarified that he had ordered Hecaton to shut up. The leader would continue in the same spirit, and he would shoot. Did Hecaton understand everything? Hecaton got angry and, taking his sword out of its sheath, yelled at Raiden to try it. The honored hero of Sauron County, the leader of the Academy of Magicians, the Master of Destruction, Lingen hit Raiden's weapon and ordered him to stop. He clarified that they had gathered here to save the lands from a possible threat. They found time to swear. They, as leaders of academies, should set an example for the youth. Hecaton looked at Raiden with irritation and snorted, asked, what about him? Raiden gets angry with one word. Raiden yelled that he was just a stupid warrior who doesn't watch his words. The protagonist tensely noted that the similarities ended at that level. He thought that he was worried about the success of the task. Raiden bowed and asked for forgiveness. He clarified that he was sorry that MC had to witness this unsightly scene. Ted raised his hand and asked him not to worry. Everyone has a couple of people they don't like. The protagonist smiled sarcastically and thought that his main goal in this mission was leveling up. If he killed the boss, he would pass a couple of levels at once. After some time in the Sauron Valley, in the 4th zone, the leader announced that they were there. Lingen tensely clarified, did the leader want to say that this cloud created this? Hecaton was amazed to notice that it looked like an ordinary cloud. MC used the ability and wondered, did it seem to him, or did the cloud become much closer compared to his last visit? System window notified that it was approaching, and the current percentage was 85%. The Lord of Decay discovered the protagonist. Lingen screamed in fear. Did the Lord notice them and start descending? He thought that the enemy was smarter than he thought. The attack needs to be repelled urgently. Lingen quickly directed a stream of flame from his hand and an explosion thundered. Hecaton smiled and showed a thumb on his hand and praised his comrade. Lingen said in fear that he hit with considerable force, but Hecaton looked at what was happening in horror and interrupted his comrade and yelled, what is this? The cloud is approaching the ground? A huge dark cloud landed on the ground. Red eyes appeared in the dark smoke and the monsters roared. The guy asked in fear, are these really undead monsters? From berserker skeletons to magical zombies, they are all handpicked. The protagonist raised his weapon and fired a mosquito bullet. He instantly summoned silver goblins and they crossed muskets. MC confidently ordered the mosquito to wait for his command, and the goblins should only shoot at monsters. The target is designated and then you can attack. They instantly fired powerful streams of mana and the monsters broke into pieces. The knight holding a sword in his hands shouted that the protagonist is definitely not weak. MC is a master of handling a musket. Hecaton was surprised and wondered who the protagonist is anyway. So the rumors that this named son of Raiden is stronger than him are not unfounded? MC single-handedly kills dozens of monsters, and also a squad of goblins with muskets. The system window notifies that the level has been increased several times. The current level is 209th. Ted smiled ominously and thought that notifications were appearing like that. This is the easiest experience gain in his life. The knights, covering themselves with shields from monsters, shouted that there are too many monsters. The protagonist noted that there are certainly a lot of them and thought that if the boss continues to summon the undead, his mana will quickly run out. Although this will only help him, the Lord is just helping him gain experience. Hecaton tensely exclaimed that there is no end to them. He will destroy this cloud, and it will be over. Hecaton quickly swung his sword and threw the monsters aside. MC frowned in irritation, and wondered if he should accidentally shoot the warrior in the knee so as not to interfere with his experience gain. Hecaton quickly jumped above the heads of the monsters. He used the horn of the nine-headed dragon. Hecaton quickly struck the cloud. Huge dark tentacles headed towards him from the smoke. They grabbed his head and Hecaton screamed in fear. Raiden called out to him with concern and the knight turned his head and addressed the master. A huge crystal appeared around Hecaton and closed. The protagonist tensely asked, was the leader just chained in a crystal? The knight screamed that Hecaton was captured by the enemy. What should they do? System window notifies that an Archlich paragon of an unknown level has taken possession of the body of the NPC Storm Knight Hecaton. The remaining time is 9 minutes 58 seconds. The task has been updated. The Fatal Apple. You need to kill the Archmage Paragon. Quest rank A. The knights called out to the master and Lingen sternly clenched his teeth and said that Hecaton's body has been taken over by filth. You need to kill him before it's too late. Raiden raised his weapon and ordered everyone to listen and attack Hecaton. Everyone attacked Hecaton with ice arrows, piercing bullets, and a cross star. Smoke spread in the air and the knights screamed. Is there really not a single crack? The guy with sweat running down his face screamed in fear. What should they do? Lingen said in amazement that he didn't believe it. He closed his eyes and thought, that is, even the elite fighters of the county are unable to destroy this crystal. So they won't save Hecaton. They can all be killed here. And the siege is coming soon. They can't waste even more energy on him. Lingen asked to listen to his order. Lightning instantly flashed past him and struck the ground with great force. Lightning struck the crystal and enveloped it. The system window notifies that the crystal sarcophagus of the Archlich Paragon, the current protection level is 97%. Lingen quickly turned his head to the side and thought that the crystal cracked. But who managed to? He looked at the protagonist and thought, is this MC? The system window notifies that the level has increased. The current level is 210th. Ted grinned and thought that the level has increased. That's the main thing. It took some effort to level up, but it was worth it. The system window notifies you that this is the lightning charge skill sphere. For every percent of skill, the damage increases by 0.5%. The current skill level is 70%. The current damage bonus is 65%. MC thought that things would get better now. Lingen decisively announced a new order and ordered to cover this musketeer so that the protagonist could calmly shoot at the crystal. The protagonist asked in confusion what this meant. The knights stood in front of him and, calling out to the traveler, said that they would cover him. The knights asked to free Hecaton. Ted thought he wanted to get pumped up on these fools, but there was nothing he could do. He ordered the musketeer battalion to continue shooting at the undead. The protagonist confidently filled the musket with lightning and exclaimed that he would continue to hit the sarcophagus. After some time, the system window notifies that the crystal sarcophagus of the Archlich Paragon, the current level of protection is 1%. MC turned his head to the side and said that if he continues to shoot, the old man's body will be damaged. Lingen replied that everything is fine. Hecaton's body is already infected with filth. Let him at least die as a warrior. The protagonist agreed and the crystal instantly broke into pieces. The system window notifies that the black heart of the Archlich Paragon affected the heart of NPC Hecaton by 30%. Paragon said that his body has been rotting for 200 years. The system window notifies that this is the Archlich Paragon, level 500. The revival is not yet complete. Ted tensed up and thought, that is, this freak will still rise, even if he is in the process of rebirth. Paragon exclaimed that if he is not destined to rise again, then he will take them all with him to the grave. Mode 2, the Monarch of Decay has risen. Paragon screamed terrifyingly that every single person will rot. The guy frightenedly noticed that the Lord was very big, and the knight screamed, what is this? Paragon ordered everyone to fall, and many monsters growled. The knight turned his head to the side and ordered his comrades to be careful. These dead are different from the usual ones. The zombie quickly ran up to the knight and hit him with his hand and growled. A hole appeared on the knight's equipment and he gritted his teeth in pain. The system window notifies that a bad effect has been imposed. Corrosion. Health will drop by 1% every 10 seconds. The knights screamed that their legs were rotting very quickly. Raiden tensely ordered to aim at the legs so that the monsters could not get close to them. You cannot touch their bodies. The arrow pierced the body of the undead. The protagonist wondered if he really does not cause damage at all. Maybe the boss's core is somewhere else? MC knows where it is then. Ted finished thinking and looking at Lingen said that he thinks that the core is hidden somewhere in the archlet's body. Can the Master Mage hit well? Lingen calmly agreed and replied that he would try. He raised his hand and creating a magic seal, yelled that from the depths of the earth to the very heavens. Lingen commanded the wind that sweeps away everything in its path to rush up. He released an ice storm from the magic seal. The system window notifies that the ice storm releases countless ice spears, slowing down the enemy. Huge crystals pierce Paragon's body and pass through. The core became visible in the hole and it instantly passed into Paragon's flesh. The protagonist thought he could see it. Could the core really be moving? Is that even possible? Lingen ordered MC to be more careful. Ted noticed the slime flying towards him. The system window notifies that a bad effect has been imposed: corrosion. Health will drop by 1% every 10 seconds. The protagonist yelled with great anger that this really irritates him. Even on a regular mission, he has no luck. MC jumped to the side and thought that something was wrong here. Even if the enemy is not damaged, why doesn't Paragon even try to dodge or defend himself? Maybe the Lord can't move yet? What if the name is an NPC? He finished thinking, and instantly a cloud appeared behind Raiden. Ted asked if he and the kids could buy him some time. Raiden looked at the cloud and asked where his son was going. Ted, shrouded in mana, quickly ran towards the archlich. He remembered the past. Tisei raised his finger and asked to hear him, because he would not explain it a second time. All things in the thieves' world are divided into two types, those that can be stolen and those that cannot be stolen. The protagonist came out of his memories and thought that he had already stolen personal items, which meant that it would work here too. He quickly pointed his hand towards the enemy's face and used the steal ability. The system window notifies that this is the Black Heart of Paragon. The probability of successful theft is 15%. MC grinned confidently and exclaimed that here it is. Ted thought that even 15% would be enough for him. Considering the amount of mana left, he will be able to use the steal 20 more times in case of failure. The protagonist filled his hand with mana and used steal. The system window notifies that Paragon's Black Heart theft failed. Paragon looked at MC in surprise. Ted tensely lowered his head and noted that he expected something like this. The protagonist thought that he had 19 more attempts left, and he would not leave here until this heart was his. The protagonist opened the door to the room with a terrifying look. He called out to Fortune ominously, and it turned its head to the side. MC quickly grabbed it, and Fortune asked in fear, "Whose fault is it? Is it its fault that the protagonist is unlucky?" Ted angrily ordered it to shut up and yelled, 18 times in a row. 18 times in a row an unsuccessful theft with a probability of 15%. How much more can this go on? He hit Luck with great force several times. The protagonist put him down on the floor and screamed, "If he's unlucky again, Luck knows what he'll do with him?" MC came out of the subconscious and the system window notified that Paragon's Black Heart, the theft, was a success. A powerful explosion thundered in Paragon's body. The knights asked if the boss's body was really collapsing. The guy noticed that the dead were starting to collapse too. Raiden exclaimed that his son could do it. The system window notified several times that the level had increased. The current level is 232. The protagonist managed to defeat the boss with a level gap of 200 points. The achievement was received, Model Hero, 50 points to all stats. MC screamed, "Is there really an achievement in addition to levels?" The system window notifies that thieves are capable of stealing not only from pockets. MC is a real heartthrob, having defeated the boss by stealing. The achievement was received, Heartthrob. The thief class mastery threshold has been increased by 30%. Ted, holding the enemy's heart in his hand, exclaimed that he had added stats and class mastery together. This is not counting the main loot. The system window notifies that this is a Black Paragon Heart of rank A, a material for creating skills of the chronic type. MC thought that this was a chronicle material, a special material that allows you to create unique skill spheres that have not yet been registered in the system. If he meets it, then Brahmin will definitely be able to create the coolest skill possible. This is the best reward he has ever received for quests in all his years of playing. The knight cried and called out to the master. He put his hand on the body of the dead master and asked what will happen to their academy if Hecaton left them. MC sadly lowered his head and thought that, unlike players, NPCs cannot be resurrected. This is one of the aspects of the game's realism. The head of the warrior academy, the Storm Knight Hecaton, left this world forever today. After some time, the assistant said that it no longer matters, but the horror that Hecaton had endured, though they would better change the subject. The ruler of the county of Sauron, the Earl of Sauron, looked at the sheet and asked, "Is that true?" The best warriors of his county could not defeat this monster. Yet one traveler was able to kill it single-handedly, and they expect the Earl to believe such things? Lingen calmly replied that he dare not tell a lie to my lord, and the Earl knew this very well. He thought it would be a good idea to hire this guy for the upcoming siege. With his strength, they will be able to defend their rights to this land. The Earl clarified that even if Lingen was telling the truth, he did not think such a decision was wise in the current situation. Lingen asked if he could know the reason for his refusal. The Earl asked, was Lingen sure that they could trust this traveler? Lingen bowed his head tensely and said nothing. The Earl said that they all acted based on their own interests. Among them, there were many who wanted to take his lands. There are also those who are ready to follow any order, if they pay well for it. Judging by his words, they only need to hire one protagonist to put an end to the siege. But how much will such a force cost them? Most of their soldiers are ordinary conscripts. However, there are also mercenaries who are paid more. Due to the fault of the special pay, their county is in a sad state from an economic point of view. And if this young man single-handedly stops the siege, Linghen understands how much money he will need to pay for such a feat. If MC really succeeds, the Count thinks that they will have to give up the whole county to pay off. Before hiring a specialist like the Traveler Ted, you should think twice. Yes, they lost a very good warrior Hecaton, but the worst is behind them. After some time, the assistant exclaimed that the sorcerers arrived as ordered. Everything is ready for tomorrow's siege. Carice slammed his fist on the table with fury and yelled that this is damn trash. He thought that the siege hadn't even begun, and the Archlich had already been defeated. He put everything he had into this preparation. Carice gritted his teeth in anger and said that he had risen from the very bottom, moving his body on camera for the sake of people's laughter. He thought, and they want to say that he will have to return to this again? Fool Lone, of course, brought friends, but these three will not cope with the entire siege. There was never an NPC in the county who could defeat the Archlich. Judging by the available information, the Archlich was killed by a musketeer, but in the county he had met a musketeer of level 650 at most. Is Therese missing something? Blue Sky Empire, the Wrecking Ball Man, Tanichi of level 672 lifted the curtain and laughingly exclaimed, Captain, something looks tense. Carice smiled and turned his head to the side and disagreed. He noticed that after all, he had the rankers from the Blue Sky Empire on his side. He had nothing to worry about. Tanichi laughed and shouted, that was a good point. Miss Ruri from the Blue Sky Empire, a level 685 parasitism mage, asked if Tanichi could be a little more modest. Tanichi happily noticed that the priestess, as always, loved to quarrel. Ruri replied that he loved to talk. Charisse thought with great tension that this was the best player of the Blue Sky Empire Guild, Tanichi, their best mage, Ruri. With them, he would definitely be able to win this siege. There is only one person who has defeated the Archlich, who will not stand up for the defense of the county. Carice turned to the esteemed Miss Ruri and said that her creation, it had recently awakened from its slumber. But unfortunately, the Archlich was defeated. She covered her mouth with her hand in surprise and asked, is this true? Carice lowered his head sadly and said that he was a little upset by this news. Ruri laughed and exclaimed, the Archlich is easy to destroy with the right distribution of forces. She didn't have high hopes for him, so it's not a big loss. Carice clarified that the person who defeated the Lord could be on the Count's side. Ruri moved her hair to the side, revealing a tattoo with the number 8, and asked if Charisse knew what the tattoo behind her ear meant. Charisse clarified, and what did it mean? She laughed and replied that it was the number of territories they managed to capture. Carice smiled tensely, and thought that even though he failed, these two were strong, and these tattoos are proof of that. Tanichi terrifyingly threw his sword over his shoulder and exclaimed that the enemy will come and all the same to him, so he cannot hold back. Tanichi has not fought strong opponents for a long time. Even his blood is boiling with anticipation. Ruri clarified that tomorrow was the day the siege began. She asked Charisse to allow her to predict the outcome of this battle for them. Ruri smiled terrifyingly and added that in exactly 3 days, Carice would have the county. And they would all celebrate the victory together in the county's mansion, drinking wine. After some time, the guild's special offensive group, Paprika, began the siege against the county of Sauron. The knight, looking through binoculars, said that it seemed like the enemy was forming a magic circle. The mage asked tensely, why do they need this? Do they want to use siege magic? There is a barrier against this type of magic on the walls of the county. This is just a waste of energy. The knight disagreed and clarified that this is regeneration, increased damage, increased range of shots, and these are all support spells. The mage screamed in fear, what does this mean? Why do they need support spells on such a scale? The comrade tensely noted that he had never seen anything like this. It seems like all these spells are cast on only one fighter. The knight asked in bewilderment, why waste so much mana on one person? They quickly turned their heads to the side, hearing laughter. Tanichi entered the battlefield and shouted that if a person cannot stop the inevitable, he must go as it goes. The knight noted that this could not be. Only one person is opposing them? The magician asked in fear, what did they come up with? The knight decisively ordered the magicians to raise the fire cannons at the ready. Many beams of fire flew towards Tanichi. He calmly grinned and used the blue dragon robe. Blue streams of mana enveloped him and armor appeared on his body. A powerful explosion thundered on the battlefield. The opponents shouted, is there really not a scratch on him? The magician, shaking with fear, exclaimed that the charges accurately hit him. The knight asked them not to pay attention and shouted that the enemy is advancing. Tanichi quickly grabbed the hilt of the sword with his hand and ran towards the opponents. The mage turned his head to the side and exclaimed that he had to stop. He ordered to shoot freezing projectiles. The knight ordered the fighters to keep firing. Tanichi used Blue Dragon Charge. A huge mana dragon flew rapidly towards the gate. Tenichi raised his weapon and attacked the door, breaking the barrier. The mage exclaimed in fear that the enemy had broken their triple barrier with one blow. The knight turned his head to the side and announced that the strength of the gate was gradually decreasing. What will they do? Lingyan raised his hand and ordered the mages to keep attacking. They had to use their best spells to kill the enemy. A powerful explosion thundered, and smoke spread to the sides. Tenichi stood calmly in place. The mages yelled that no matter what they fired, the enemy didn't care. What should they do? Lingyan looked tensely at the knights and exclaimed that he would buy time, and they had to report the situation to the count. Tenichi ran quickly and waved his weapon and laughed. He mockingly asked, how much longer could they hold out? After a while, the count asked, what do you mean by that? The outer gate is almost destroyed? The assistant tensely reported that no matter what spells they attacked with, the enemy had too powerful a support mage. They couldn't continue fighting like this, even if it meant losing the outer wall. They needed to come up with a new strategy that would allow them to keep the county. The count asked, had they seen anyone shoot at the outer wall? The assistant, holding the documents in his hands, disagreed and exclaimed that there was nothing like that in the report. Should they check this out? The count put his hand to his forehead and replied that there was no need. He thought that the adventurer seemed to want to raise his class level, so the protagonist simply couldn't leave the county. Count noted that it meant that MC hadn't chosen a side. Why did they even enter a fight that was obviously a losing one for them? The assistant replied that they didn't know what kind of monster they would face during the siege. The count thought that right now, it was necessary to properly evaluate the current situation, and if the protagonist did not join the enemies, the count raised his finger and ordered them to head to the Raiden Musketeer Academy, Shiboli, and find an adventurer named Ted there. At the same time, the protagonist, holding fork in his hand, exclaimed with fury that here he is. Good morning. The phone says that this is an emergency broadcast. Alibaba and CGTV have captured the Tilt Kingdom. The Tilt Kingdom has been renamed to China. MC screamed with fury that these freaks have taken the entire kingdom. He lost everything and he has to level up all over again. And these freaks do whatever they want? MC irritably hit the fork on the plate. He exhaled heavily and thought that there was no point in getting angry. Maybe this will help him. While this Chinese guild is playing conquerors, building a kingdom, they will definitely not have time for him. Even if he has to participate in this bad siege, they don't have time to read the news right now. Even if news about him flashes, there is no proof that it is Ted, just a player with a similar playing style. The protagonist grinned sarcastically and thought that his main task now is to end the siege as soon as possible. MC teleported into the game. Raiden called out to his son and noted that he was just looking for him. He handed the protagonist a letter and said that the protagonist's training had officially come to an end. Here's his diploma. Ted thanked him and the system window notified that the protagonist had reached the second level of the class, Professional Musketeer. Raiden sadly added that if MC was not busy, the count wanted to see him. The worst possible scenario happened. The hero of the enemy army single-handedly broke through the gates on the outer wall. Their troops cannot hold out for long. The protagonist noted that given the monster they summoned on the plains, they were formidable foes to begin with. Raiden said that even their experienced soldiers and mages were no match for just one hero. MC wondered if things were that bad. Ted smirked and thought that it looked like Special PA had managed to recruit a high-level player, and the situation was getting more and more interesting. Maybe the siege would be more interesting than he thought. After a while, the assistant said that they had brought the adventurer the count wanted to see. The protagonist clarified that he was glad to meet the venerable count. He introduced himself and said that he was a musketeer. The count asked if the protagonist knew about the current situation regarding the siege. MC confirmed this and replied that Raiden had told him everything. The count noted that their conversation would be short then. Will the protagonist help his county survive this siege? The system window notifies that a new quest is available. Participation in the battle for the county as a mercenary. Count Sauron approached the protagonist with an offer to work as a mercenary. First, you need to participate in defensive battles for at least 15 hours. Second, there is no contract bonus, but compensation is due in case of participation in the final battle. Third, the contract will be completed as soon as the siege of the Special PA comes to an end. Ted thought that even if the siege is lost, he does not risk anything. A rather profitable task, he has not had such a thing for a long time. Although, considering the horror he had to endure, he deserved it. The last dash and a good reward he will have. The protagonist wondered if he could ask the count for a favor. The count seriously asked him to speak, and MC said that he was going to shoot all the heroes of the Special PA on the outer wall. But he needed 100 people. Thar resolutely raised his hand and asked the count to give him 100 wizards under his command, and he would eradicate the problem that the county faced. After some time, MC standing on the stairs said that his whole plan was entirely based on their help, so the wizards should help him. All they had to do was pump up his mana. If they could do it without interruption, the protagonist would do the rest. The wizards tensely agreed. Ted sternly looked at the wall and noticed that it had been beaten. He thought that the monster was dressed in blue armor. Master Lingyan tried to attack him with A-rank magic, but he didn't care. Bold, damned, going straight ahead. The only player who fits this description is a ranker from the Empire of the Blue Sky, Tenichi. But Alibaba, not CGTV of course, but also a rather large guild. And why do they need help special pa? The protagonist got down on one knee and said that there was no point in thinking about what was going on in their heads. Chance to engage in combat with a player from the top of the rating. MC thought that this was a very good chance to check what he was capable of now. He turned his head to the side and ordered the wizards to get into position. They could start casting buffs on him. The wizards created magic seals and agreed with him. System window notified that the magic flow spell had been activated. Mana recovery speed had been increased 6-fold. Duration, 10 minutes. The quick recovery spell had been activated. Skill cooldown had been reduced to 12 seconds from 10 minutes. Ted noted that in a little while they could begin. The system window notified that the mana recovery speed was 389 and the duration was 1 minute. The lightning charge skill cooldown had been reduced from 10 minutes to 1 minute. The protagonist smiled confidently and, filling his weapon with lightning, exclaimed that it was time to begin. A bolt of lightning quickly headed towards the enemy camp. At the same time, the people in the camp screamed in pain. The knights asked in amazement, "What kind of attack is this?" Carice tensely answered that he had never seen anything like this. NPCs do not have such ranged skills. Who could do this? The system window notifies that the level has been increased. The current level is 267. The mastery of the lightning bolt skill has been increased. Saron County, calculating defense points. Ted is 25,163. The protagonist smiled and, lowering his head, said that this is it. He thought that the reason why he was lucky enough to receive a weapon with a boost of 19. Even when MC received the worst skill sphere with the summoning of goblins, he believed that he would never use it. But in the end, he was able to develop synergy with these children. Defeated Lone thanks to the increased damage of the enchanted weapon. This is the answer to all the misfortunes that MC so desperately avoided. Even this damn siege. Fortune said that there was only one reason. Finally, the fool realized that he had simply been saving up his luck all his life for this. A weapon into which the protagonist had invested all his luck, which could become the key to overcoming any misfortunes that might come his way. But having one weapon is not enough. How his fate would turn out would depend only on his actions. The protagonist replied that he would keep this in mind. Fortune replied that that was good. He asked MC to stop strangling him every time a problem arose. Ted smirked and said that he was not promising anything. After a while, Carice yelled that it was a curse. He called out to Tenichi and Ruri. Tenichi laughed and noted that it looked like the fun was just beginning. Carice exclaimed in irritation that now was no time for jokes at all. In exactly 1 hour of the siege, 20% of their army was destroyed. Tenichi laughed and exclaimed that he was shocked too. The only existing lightning for ranged classes is the lightning charge skill, but to increase its power so much. I wonder how the enemy did it? Carice gritted his teeth with great anger and thought that Tenichi was a damn freak. Tenichi was only useful in battle. Ruri said that she was also shocked by this turn of events. Carice sadly asked, what should they do? At this rate, they won't even be able to reach the county walls. Ruri looked up thoughtfully and replied that this was a good question. It seems that they have a powerful ally on their side, which they never expected. They need to act immediately. Carice, sweat running down his face from the tension, clarified, she does have a plan, right? Ruri quickly raised her hands and replied that based on their plan, Tenichi should have destroyed the gate leading to the county today, and a large-scale battle would have begun tomorrow. But since the situation has changed, they will have to replay. Of course, she doesn't know what kind of lightning player has settled on the outside. Ruri looked at the bag in her hand with horror and added that, however, she was sure that her parasite would be very popular with the enemy. After a while, the system window notified that this was the second slot of the 6-pointed star. The lightning charge skill sphere proficiency level had reached 100%. The protagonist joyfully exclaimed that it had finally happened. He wondered how strong the skill would become this time. The system window notified that the lightning charge skill sphere rank had risen from D to C. Lightning charge skill sphere initial rank C. Mana consumption is 700 and the cooldown is 15 minutes. Allows you to shoot lightning charged projectiles. The reload time is 3 seconds. After firing, it is undesirable to use firearms for 5 seconds to avoid overheating. Damage increases by 0.5% for every 1% proficiency. Proficiency level is 0%. Current damage is 80%, imposes a 2-second stun on hit. MC thought that it stuns for 2 seconds and deals more damage. That's very good. But what's with that name? Is this skill sphere supposed to progress further? After the initial one, there will be an advanced B rank, and then it's not far to S rank. He really wants to see this growing power in action. Lingen said in amazement that it seems like the enemy is advancing. The protagonist yelled in irritation, is it really already? Lingen raised his hand and ordered the mages to prepare fire cannonballs. The archers should prepare to activate all their skills. They shouldn't spare the logs and resin. Since they suddenly decided to go on the offensive, there must be some good reason for it. Lingen asked MC not to show themselves until they understand the situation. Ted confidently agreed and thought that they were partially right. If the player doesn't have any defensive skills, it's better to hide when attacked directly. The knight looked at something in amazement and yelled that it was a monster in blue armor advancing. What are they even thinking about? The enemy might get hurt too. Tenchi laughed and exclaimed that they would kill them with one blow. He raised his sword and, enveloping himself in a stream of mana, used the blue dragon's protective scale. Ted thought that this was a unique item. Blue armor with an enchantment of 7. A battering ram. Tenchi fully justifies the nickname. And also the blue dragon's protective scale skill of rank A. This skill converts the damage received into your own. The knight tensely exclaimed that the enemy didn't care about cannonballs and logs, and the resin doesn't work on him either. Lingen raised his hand and ordered the warriors to leave the outer wall and retreat to the inner fortress. He turned his head to the side and said that they had better retreat. They would think of a possible strategy outside the fortress walls. And then the protagonist didn't pay attention to him, and Lingen finished speaking and called out to MC. Ted thought that this was the best moment to try out the damage, finally, as soon as the skill's effect ends. The protagonist interrupted his thoughts and said that he was very interested in how many of his shots Tenchi could withstand. The knight shouted that he knew he was hiding somewhere, a pro player. He must come out and test his strength. Gregory looked at the protagonist and said, "Sir Ted, the outer gate is about to break. If you don't retreat from the outer wall, they will." The protagonist thought, "Now," and then he fired a powerful attack forward, thereby hitting Tenchi, who screamed in pain. He thought, "What the hell?" He was under a defensive skill. Oh, so this smart guy calculated the duration of the skill and fired right on time? After that, he grinned. He found him. Then he shouted, "Ruri, he's there." He used a communication amulet, an item that helps communicate with players at a long distance. He added, on the right side of the outer wall. She folded her hands in front of her, creating magical symbols around herself. The system reported, a curse. He fell under the influence of the right of the territory, reducing all characteristics by 20%, reducing resistance by 15%. The protagonist gritted his teeth and shouted, "What?" He was cast upon blocking attacks, a magic skill that releases a scattered cloud of mana. The target effect by it will receive blocking attacks for 10 minutes. He looked at the energy diverging in the sky and thought, did they reveal his location from the last attack? Then he jumped off the wall and used 1,000 steps and a double jump. Flying further, he thought, it is unpleasant to admit this, but he was forced to retreat. Then he shouted, "What? Is this following him?" He thought that 2 spells were flying straight at him. The attack hit the target. MC screamed in pain. His HP was 52%. The system reported, curse, a debuff was cast upon him, blocking attacks. The duration is 10 minutes. He landed on a tree and said, damn. He thought, 3 consecutive A-rank attacks. This is a 3-way mirror world. The spellcasters are clearly high level. No, at least A-ranker class sorcerer. The last spell took him out of the fight. After that, he used thief's stealth and thought he will have to retreat to the county army for now. At that moment, the warrior shouted, the outer gate is about to collapse. Players were making their way inside. And at that moment, the protagonist said, okay, he should farm experience. He can release a mosquito bullet in his goblin battalion, right? After that, he released all this and said, forward, guys. Meanwhile, Mila asked, is it worth going so deep? What if they are surrounded? Wuyuri said, death is only a small price to pay for a possible chance to meet the deity Ted. Lone said that the lightning attack is clearly the work of their idol. The lightning was not a magic type, although the damage radius is colossal, but only the skill spheres of the musketeer class, lightning charge, come to mind. Jordan asked, but those are D-rank skill orbs, aren't they? Lone said that it sounds crazy, he knows, but God Ted defeated him at level 150, which means he has some tricks up his sleeve. In any case, he should be around here somewhere. With that, he looked around, and then, looking at the player's disappearing body in surprise, said that he felt like a vampirism skill was used on him. After that, he sat down next to him and concluded that it was true. Considering the state of his body, he died because of this. Mila, holding the staff in her hand, was surprised. What? There's a vampirism skill that can kill a player? He replied that at a high level, it is possible, but a player of that level will not sit in a beginner's location. Perhaps the player was killed by a monster. At that moment, the player shouted, goblins. Jordan was surprised. Goblins? Do they even spawn in this location? Lone replied negatively, unless it was the orcs. But wait, goblin, it could be Ted's skill. At that moment, an attack flew at his back. Jordan shouted, he was being attacked. Mila called Wuyuri. She said, now. She concentrated energy in her staff and used Star Step, a mass action skill that allows teleportation over long distances. After that, they moved, Mila said. An attack that destroyed Lone's HP in one hit. No doubt they were attacked by Ted himself. Wuyuri, smiling, said what an honor, she envies him so much. At that moment, they approached the tent. Raiden, standing in front, pointed his weapon at them and shouted, they should stay where they are, strangers. They will not let them go further. Then Wuyuri dispelled her spell. He asked in surprise, what? She raised her hands and said that they are in peace. They want to help the county survive this siege. Mila added with an awkward smile that if they left the faction during the siege, they would be given a huge fine. Jordan said, it doesn't matter. The main thing is the opportunity to see Ted. Wuyuri noticed that they were rejoicing too early. They should find him first. They would meet him soon. At that moment, system windows appeared in front of Charisse, in which it was stated that the Vanguard member, the Star Priest of Infinity, Wuyuri, had left the faction. The Vanguard member, the Heart Healer, had left the faction. The Vanguard member, the Iron Commander-in-Chief, Khan, had left the faction. The capillaries burst in his eyes. His body trembled with anger. He shouted, "What the hell? Do they even know the size of the fine for changing factions at a time like this? What are they doing?" Lone brought them. Let him deal with them. Then he noticed the system window, which said Special Offensive Group, Paprika Moonlight Hunter faction member. Lone status, dead. He asked in surprise, "Did he die again?" At that moment, Ruri, concentrating magic in her hand, asked, "Where did he go, Mr. Monster?" Tenichi, he noticed, right? Even if their monster is not high level, its damage is higher than theirs, so he should not get into trouble, he understand? In response, he laughed. Is she worried about him? He even felt a little offended to hear such a thing. He raised his weapon to his shoulder and smirked and asked, "She does not believe in his strength, Ruri? Even if this player is strong, he will not lose to him." She said, "Right, after all, he is strong." She smirked and thought, and yet the situation has taken an intriguing turn, a battle between a fool and a monster, worth watching. At that moment, a shot flew into the player's face. His partner, perplexed, shouted, "What the hell?" A system window appeared in front of the main character, hiding in the bushes, which said, "Critical shot. Additional damage, 72%, level increased. Current level 275. He looked through the sight of his weapon and thought, because of the second stage, he is a cut above all these minions in terms of damage. He used Thief's Stealth and thought, a ranker spellcaster would cast a detection spell on a territory in such a situation. Therefore, it is better to act carefully and not stick his head out once again. He will defeat the trump card of Spec Pa, and he can consider the siege won. So his next sacrifice will be. The next second he noticed an attack approaching him in his sight and shouted, "What?" He instantly used a double jump, dodging the sickle volley that releases a crescent-shaped aura from the tip of the sword. Tenichi ran towards him and shouted, "How long can he hide? He has to come out and fight him right away." The protagonist thought in surprise, "Tenichi? How did he find him? He's invisibly undetected. And tanks don't have detection skills. Wait, what's that on the guard of his sword? A detection skill? Why would a tank need something like that?" At that moment, the player laughed out loud and shouted, "He can't hide. He used detection. It allows him to see the target's location, regardless of its status. After that, he used Chain Link. It's a skill that allows him to sequentially release 3 shockwaves from the tip of the sword. Upon hitting the target, it gets stunned and bound. The attack was approaching the protagonist. He became noticeably nervous. Damn, is this a chain link or something? Even without taking into account the level difference, he would be knocked back by 1 debuff. He shouldn't get to him. After that, he started to dodge, stopping on the ground. He thought it was close. He was so sweaty that he even forgot about invisibility. But if he kept running, it would never end. He needed to work harder. At that moment, Tenichi shouted happily, and here he is. He needed to solve this like a man. Shooter. He pushed off the ground and ran forward. At that moment, MC thought, how many shots would he need to put him down? Considering their level difference, passive skills, possibly crits, and his damage, about 6 headshots would be enough. The problem is how to do it, because he's fighting against a ranker. The player shouted, "Come on again." He used the chain link again. The attack was approaching the main character, and he shouted, and he is dodging well. The protagonist thought, when activating the skill, he stands still for about a second, but he does not think it is because of the cast itself. Tenichi ran forward and shouted, "Blue Dragon Charge." The protagonist thought, after that, he uses his main skill to close the distance. He uses his tactics to his advantage. The player shouted, he decided to take the fight like this. This real man? Wonderful. Chain link. He directed his attack forward again, and the protagonist, dodging it, used 1,000 steps and double jump. The player laughed and shouted, another volley, bear. The protagonist thought, now. He pointed his weapon at him and used a lightning charge. A powerful attack flew forward. Tenichi shouted in confusion, what? Lightning strikes spread across the area. At that moment, MC jumped onto a branch near a real tree. The player laughed loudly and shouted, he caught him. Well done. This is the first time he received such damage from the musketeer skill. But it's time to end these childish games. He used territory expansion, Dragon Zone. This forms an area with a translucent blue club. Players cannot leave it. After that, he used Blade Dance. This releases countless sickle-shaped jagged edges from the tip of the sword. A multiple attack began to cut everything around. The player continued to laugh loudly, and the protagonist, clenching his teeth, tried to cover himself with his hands. He shouted, damn. He thought, he wants to completely clear the area so that he has nowhere to hide? Then Tenichi, moving forward, used the Blue Dragon Charge. Swinging his weapon, he shouted, got caught. But in front of him stood a frightened goblin who screamed loudly. He shouted in confusion, what? He thought, a goblin. At that moment, MC was behind him and used the field of vision. The system reported a critical shot. Additional damage, 94%. Tenichi, turning around, told the musketeer to summon a goblin too. His shock is in shock, so he will tell him, but he will not be able to turn something like this a second time. He used a crushing attack. The protagonist thought, there is no choice, he needs to make 3-4 shots. He activated the skill Steadfastness and thought that he will have to fight head on. You can't hesitate, he doesn't have much health. He grabbed the player's hand. In response, he laughed loudly and shouted, He's going to hug a teddy bear? He thinks he can withstand his blows with the help of steadfastness? Holy simplicity. After that, he punched the protagonist in the head and he thought, shouldn't he get a percentage of defense for each health point taken? His opponent shouted, that's the end of the story. Bear. The protagonist objected, no way. The player laughed and apologized, saying, but his weapon is nothing against him. He used Steel Fortitude. If the health level drops to 10% when activating the skill, he will be able to restore 30% of the total HP. He shouted, he must surrender. Bear. At that moment, a mosquito hit the enemy's neck right away and MC asked, what's wrong with him? The system reported that the mosquito bullet absorbed the enemy's health, HP, 1225. He grinned. Who else should surrender here? Tanichi, looking at his health status, was surprised. What? He also has vampirism? Wait, his health. After that, the protagonist pinned him to the ground. He thought, damn, he made a big mistake. Ruri will be furious if that's the case. After that, he laughed and apologized again. It seems like he lost. Their monster is a musketeer with a bear's head. He squeezed the protagonist with his arms, and he shouted in surprise, what was he planning? He replied that he would help him. But he can't rely on him anymore. The protagonist thought, did he decide to put a spoke in his wheel at the very end? To hell, he should die already. The next second, the player's body began to fall down. The system reported a level increase. Ruri said at that moment, he threw their monster closer. Tanichi may be strong, but he is terribly slow and careless. Is there anyone from their faction nearby? Good too. She used territory expansion, area of supremacy. First, she needs to block his escape routes. She created a magic symbol between her hands and used a heavenly construct. The magic cube covered part of the forest, and she added, the final touch, a magic bag. A dark aura flew forward. From there appeared a demon of an unknown level named Luxiot. She said that she was even grateful for this duel, Mr. Monster, the great curse of parasitism. MC, seeing the dark aura in front, asked in surprise, what is this? He thought, wait, this is a cloud, exactly the same as the one that turned Hecatan into a monster. He used 1,000 steps and thought that it was better to get out before it was too late. The next second, he crashed into the barrier and shouted in surprise, what the hell is this? A barrier? He tried to shoot and shouted, come on, this should break. Why doesn't anything work? Many magic hands were approaching him and he thought, bad, if these claws touch him, he's finished. He shot at it and shouted, get away. This shouldn't come. No matter how much it shoots, it keeps coming and coming. Then he used the lightning bolt. But the system reported not enough mana. He was surprised. The next second, magical hands covered his body. He screamed. This should let him go, but it stretched him to the demon and he screamed, no way. The system reported, the minor demon Luxiot merges with the character. The percentage of damage is 1%. He thought, damn, so his body will be enslaved? What happened to Hecatan? The percentage of damage is 2%. The puppet debuff is applied to him. He is unable to control his body. The mental instability debuff is applied to him. Synchronization with the character's actions will be reduced by 50%. The system reported, the liberator of the sun Shamchan, dormant in the soul of the traveler, resists the great curse of parasitism. Ruri, looking at the magic sphere, said, how strange. Luxiot is a 5-horned demon. Then why does he only have 1 horn? The system reported, the sun is resisting. The minor demon has occurred. She said in confusion, what is going on? The system reported, the will of the liberator of the sun, the unawakened D-rank, is resisting. The liberator of the sun, Shamchan, dormant in the soul of the traveler, is resisting the great curse of parasitism. Resistance 15%. The protagonist was surprised and thought, what is going on? Shamchan is resisting? Maybe he can avoid the fusion. The system reported, the minor demon is merging with the character. The defeat rate is 17%. Meanwhile, Phil, holding the sword in front of him, was surprised. What? Some kind of game event? Max stood in front of him and said that he heard a cloud circling over the Sauron plain. He asked, that is, this cloud possessed the player's body? Is such a thing even possible? He replied, who the hell knows, but doesn't he think it's quite dangerous? The system reported, the defeat rate is 33%. When the defeat reaches 33.3%, he partially loses control over the game avatar. Control over his body will pass to the junior demon Luxiot. The next second, the demon fired a shot. Phil screamed in fear. He is shooting at them. Max screamed, we need to get out of here quickly. The next second, there was an explosion. A system window appeared in front of the main character, which said that the liberator of the sun Shamchan, dormant in the soul of the traveler, resists the great curse of parasitism. Resistance is 25%. He thought, what? He does not give up? Resistance, albeit little by little, but growing. But what can he do when the percentage of defeat reaches 100%? It turns out that all he can do is stupidly stare at how this demon controls his body. The system reported, the percentage of defeat is 35%. The junior demon Luxiot merges with the character. The percentage of defeat is 35%. When the percentage of defeat reaches 35%, he partially loses control over the game avatar. The next second, the demon screamed loudly and then turned around. The protagonist thought in surprise, where is he looking? Not at the county. Then the demon pointed his weapon at the county, and the protagonist thought, he is begging, if only it would not shoot. But the projectile still flew at the county. He thought, no. Max screamed, demon. Den, turning around sharply, screamed. The hero turned into a demon. At that moment, the count holding the weapon in his hand said, friends, follow him. Those present were surprised. The count? Meanwhile, MC thought, not that. He forgot about them. The demon thought there are strong ones among them. The protagonist thought, huh, those three? Are these the guys Lone brought? If they are for the county, does that mean they surrendered? Then the demon fired the projectile again and MC thought he was sorry. Yuri asked, is that Ted? Mila asked, does it fly? Then a powerful explosion thundered. The system reported resistance 30%. The protagonist said, great. He was able to move. Then he thought, but it was too early to rejoice. Something had to be done before the situation turned into a complete nightmare. If he had regained some control, then he had to fight Spetstukpa while he still had the chance. After that, he used 1,000 steps. Putting his hand forward, he said, inventory. He thought how glad he was that he hadn't sold this after rebirth. He took out a berserk potion. When used, reaction speed increases by 30% and damage increases by 20% for 10 minutes. Control over the avatar decreases by 80%. Side effects, rage, mental vulnerability. He thought since he was literally hovering over Spetspa's camp, he could go completely crazy. The system reported that he had drunk a berserk potion. Reaction speed increased by 30% and damage by 20% duration 10 minutes. He screamed loudly. The system reported that control over the avatar was lost by 80%. Debuffs, rage, mental vulnerability were received. The demon thought, there is a strong one. At this moment, Ruri, watching the protagonist, was surprised. What? Has he come to his senses? We need to set up a barrier, otherwise. She put out her hand, preparing to cast a spell, but at that moment the protagonist fired a projectile. She, looking at the approach of this in fear, said, just not that. Then a powerful explosion thundered. MC in the demon's body screamed loudly. He made his way forward, shooting again, destroying the buildings around. Carice at that moment desperately looked up and said, a lot of money, top rankers, are going to hell because of one damn bear. Just one musketeer ruined his entire siege. Then the protagonist screamed loudly again. The system reported, the effect of the berserk potion has come to an end. He screamed in surprise. What? He looked at the destroyed camp and asked, is this really all him? The system reported, resistance 100%. He was surprised, a lot of status windows. According to one of them, the great curse of parasitism failed to take control of him. But due to the fact that Shamchon's will belongs to class D, his body will retain a partial fusion with the body of the lesser demon Luxiot. He looked at his hand in surprise and asked, so he will remain in such a body? The system reported that it will be possible to cleanse the connection in 12 days, 5 hours, 58 minutes. The body of a lesser demon gives a bonus, plus 120 levels to the current one, plus boss status, plus the demon race, plus the special ability of a magic hand. He asked in surprise, did he become a boss? He is no different from Hecaton now. Wait, a new achievement? The system window that appeared in front of him said the achievement of the Siege Executioner, plus 2 to damage, plus 2% to defense, plus 5% resistance. He said one of the most desired achievements during a siege, giving an increase in percentages? But even that is not cooler. The system window did not say, achievement 1 against all, suppressive aura status available, stat increase plus 99. He called up the status and was surprised. Suppressive aura? He thought, this is a status that maximizes skill power when invisible. Of course, he expected to get something from the siege, but not such an imbalance. A system window appeared in front of him, which said 1 against all. He killed 500 players in one day. He is not afraid of guards, monsters, or players. Can he add a new status suppressive aura to himself? Generate a status? He grinned. Is this even asking? And the system asked, can he add a new status suppressive aura to himself? Generate a status. He shouted, of course. The system reported, suppressive aura status generated. He said thoughtfully, status created. Then he looked in surprise at the system window that appeared, which said he killed an allied NPC. The current crime index is 53,400. He gets the status of a sworn enemy of the Kingdom of Charon. The player gets this status when the crime index reaches over 50,000. He gets a high crime index by attacking an ally. The kingdom is forced to declare a reward for his head. He shouted in surprise. What? The system window said, the status is a demon boss. He invaded the city and killed many citizens. Now other players will hunt him. He shouted, what the hell? At that moment, the knight, turning to the count, said, His Excellency. They need to get rid of this demon immediately. His partner added, they can't ignore his existence like that. We need to issue a decree on a reward for his head. At that moment, Raiden stepped forward and, apologizing for interfering, said that he wanted to be heard first. Honorable Count. The traveler Ted, who had suffered this misfortune, their benefactor, and turned into those freaks who had waged war against them. Ted is a victim in these circumstances. They cannot attack him after all he had done for them. Sebastian pointed his finger at him and shouted, what is he talking about? He should not mix him and their duty with personal affection. He replied, personal feelings have nothing to do with it. They themselves had noticed that in his body there were dormant powers that could not be curbed. After that, he climbed the wall and, looking ahead, thought, son, where is he? Was he able to maintain his will, unlike Hecaton? Son, he saved his home and their academy. He was sincerely grateful to him. He hoped that they would meet again. The capital of the Pixie Kingdom, Pixion, the Blue Sky Empire Guild Conference Room. Ruri, putting her hand to her face, said that she was afraid that the siege would take up too much of their time and they wouldn't make it to the meeting. Tenichi, grinning, said, he only dreams of clashing with that bear archer again. She thought, although they failed the siege of Sauron County, but everyone else seems to be doing fine. At that moment, the great swordsman Musashi approached them and noted that they hadn't seen each other for a long time, guys. They turned their attention to him and shouted, "Yes, it's Musashi." He put his hand to his chin and asked, "Why is he so beaming, Tenichi? Did something good happen?" He came closer and said that he met such a strong guy, he can't imagine. He asked who. Ruri thought, but more importantly, how was he able to resist her parasitism? She was sure that the defeat of the past was smooth. How could he stop it? Maybe. She was pulled out of her thoughts by the voice of Tokichiro, the guildmaster of the Blue Sky Empire. He said that since most of them were already there, they would start their meeting. Meanwhile, MC ran forward and shouted, "For what? Why him? Did he deserve it? He tried so hard to drag out this siege." He looked at the system windows and thought, damn, now he will have to flee to another country to start all over again. Meanwhile, Tokichiro said, 5 of the strongest guilds gathered in this hall. They faced the same problem. And for what reason were they not taken into the top 7 guilds in the world? The fact is that their forces are scattered, like in the Sengoku period. Nevertheless, they deserve to be the best. They just need to unite. But they need a common enemy. Unfortunately, they failed to subjugate the county of Sauron. They lost the battle, but not the war. They still have a territory that can be a starting point. In the conquest of the Karen Kingdom. Time has passed, their guild alliance will reclaim the 8th place in the world, and they will start with the Pixie Kingdom. The location is the forest at the foot of Mount Cuppick. Sam, looking at the creature he just defeated, smiled and said, "Wow, a great place to hunt." Unexpectedly weaker than he expected, given the level? Mark asked, was the one who posted the post with the nickname Goblin Mom? The text said, a question about the demon boss of the Cuppick mountain range. The author is Goblin Mom. She was hunting for the Cuppick mountain range because the experience was good, but suddenly the demon boss appeared and she died when she saw it. She can't find anything when searching. Does anyone know if this is a new boss or something? Sam said, whoever it was, giving out information about this great hunting spot and the new boss for free, he must be a complete fool. His comrade added, but sharing good information is a big plus. Plus you should look at this. This is the Guild of the Order of the Holy Knight. Those damn idiots suddenly started a siege against Sauron and lost. So now they are completely broke. He heard that they moved, and now they are doing well. Sam thoughtfully asked if he should join the guild too. He replied that he should not waste his time. These people obsessed with concepts, they will probably make him live up to their standards. He asked, really? The vice commander thought about how many flies had flown in. He didn't know why Goblin Mom told him about the new boss. This pandemonium was annoying. But flies can be good bait during a raid. The next second, an attack flew at him, and he fell to the ground. His guild member asked, the vice commander fell dead? What was that, gunfire? Were they targeted by snipers? At that moment, the leader shouted, everyone calm down. There was also an article in the post that said the boss attacked from a long distance. They must remain in formation. He then looked at the demon-bodied protagonist approaching them in horror and shouted, it's the boss! Everyone prepare to raid. Mages, they must use blessing. This skill increases attack and defense, and also gives a divine property to all attacks used. He shouted, mages from the rear, they must bind his legs. They used bind. This skill greatly slows down the target's movement speed. The protagonist was wrapped in chains. He screamed loudly. The leader shouted, get him. He used slash strike. He just screamed loudly again. The guild members spoke as expected of the leader. The guy added, he was a little upset about the death of the deputy, but will this raid only last 5 minutes? And then he looked forward in surprise and asked, why him? Then the protagonist easily broke the chains on his body. The guild member, looking up, said that it was impossible. He broke through the binding with his power, his partner added, and not a single scratch from the guild master. After that, the protagonist directed a powerful attack at them. The leader, turning around, shouted, everyone get ready to shoot. By hooking him, they have a chance to win. The next second, he noticed that the guild members were lying on the ground, covered in fire. He was surprised. It hadn't even been 5 minutes since they met, and the guild was already destroyed? This is crazy. At this moment, the archer ran forward in fear, tears streaming down his face. He thought, the rising guild will die on the battlefield. He had accumulated some experience. Dying here is not in his prospects. First, he needs to get off the mountain ridge. The next second, he stepped on the disappearing body of a player and shouted in surprise, what is this? He escaped first? But why is he dead? He thought, there was a reason why Goblin Mom or someone else shared the information, and the boss is not for their level. The next second, he fell to the ground and desperately called for help. But the MC came up to him and, pointing a gun at him, said, nasty cur of the false lords, he must die. The next second, a system window appeared in front of him, notifying him of a level increase. He shouted, such cringe. He's going crazy. Why does a demonic spawn say such things? At that moment, the host greeted everyone and, raising her index finger, said, the truth is always beyond this. A gossip channel that prides itself on its speed. She is Karik, the sweet host of Karik TV. Today, 2 amazing news. Not long ago, Special PA laid siege to the county of Sauron. But then a sharp turn of events happened. A victory that turned all expectations upside down was for the county. People who invested in SpecPa are unhappy, and the head of the Carice Guild disappeared after being defeated. But that's not all. The main news of the day: a new demonic boss appeared in this siege. According to one of the participants, he appeared out of nowhere, single-handedly destroyed both camps and disappeared. In response to this, the winner, Count Sauron, ordered his extermination. No wonder. The reward for his capture is 50,000. Of course, the reward will be colossal, right? She pointed her finger forward and added, he disappeared in the direction of the Pixie Kingdom. Who will have the honor of defeating this boss first? The hunt is declared open. At this moment, the protagonist, sitting at the table, grabbed his head and thought, he is finished. It's all over. Stupid game. He suffered so much during the siege. While he was suffering with annoying scouts, a Japanese top ranker suddenly appeared. Come to think of it, it was because of them that he became a demon, right? All his efforts went down the drain, and now a search order was piled on top of him. He did not want this. Sighing, he thought that he can no longer stay in Sauron County. Since he has come to this, he needs to go to the nearest Pixie Kingdom. With this level of training he can fight the Chinese, but in the end, he will not have a chance if they threaten his family. I think Brayman said that he is going to the Pixie Kingdom. He is going to take the Black Heart Paragon material that he managed to get this time and make the third skill ball from the fly. This is black and white. He clenched his fist and said desperately, he is not very lucky, but if he moves to another kingdom, everything will work out. After some time, the location near the foot of Mount Kopik, the system reported an achievement was obtained before the Charon Kingdom. An order was given from the kingdom to eliminate the boss monster in the city. Countless people will come to hunt, recognizing it as an event. The protagonist, having appeared, thought, there is limited access to the Pixie Kingdom from the Charon Kingdom. The system window that appeared said 12 days, 2 hours, 37 minutes until the low-level monster, Luxiot's body disintegrates. He thought he needed some time to prepare. Who else was there? He peeked out from behind the bushes and thought, is this place frequented? Oh yeah. Then he noticed the flyers in the player's hands and thought, has the chase already begun? No matter how much the reward for the crime was, this was too much. What should he do? He didn't know how long it would take to get the necessary stats and skills, and there would still be more hunters coming. Wait, they were coming. He then walked up to the level 300 orc samurai boss monster and asked, is he the boss of this county? He turned around, and the next second MC fired a shot and said he needed time to prepare for the trip to the Pixie Kingdom and for the demon transformation. Would inevitably encounter a crowd of pursuers coming after him. Since everyone was confusing him with the boss, why couldn't he play until he left? Meanwhile, the vice commander slammed the table and shouted, immediate re-attack? Ridiculous. This attack was from a new boss they met for the first time, so there were moments when they were underprepared, but attacking at their level was impossible. Such a strong opponent must be carefully analyzed before trying again. The leader put his hand to his face and said, damn, if I give up, the damage is too great. He added, even if he manages to catch him, he can get some of the spoils. For now, he should postpone the re-attack and focus on repairing the damage. He replied, if they were a priority. At this moment, a guild member ran into the room and shouted, Commander, breaking news! He asked, what's going on? He replied, Goblin Mom, a new post has been published about that boss. The leader, calling the system window, was surprised. Again, what is it this time? And then the vice captain sighed and said, since a guild of their level failed, other guilds won't be able to handle this task. They should do the restoration first. The leader folded his hands and said, he's afraid they don't have time, Vice Commander. He was surprised. Commander, what is this? Before he could finish speaking, he replied, if they suffered damage, shouldn't they restore it? The usual state of those who lost something. He has a skill that allows him to check the items monsters have, and this demon has a rank, a chronicle material. It looks like it will be very expensive to sell, but this boss is too strong, so he will pass and inform the others. The protagonist asked, will their eyes stretch after this? Well, the bait is more expensive than the reward for his neck. Since they are going to go, they should hold on and get his experience.